Hi. Sorry, I clicked the wrong fucking setup at first. Hello. Hi, chat. Hi, chat. We are on the floor again. I'm gonna need to readjust the camera, but, What's up? Displease the YouTube's gods early on. Okay, so we're doing our wigs today. Who's excited? I actually ended up getting 5 done yesterday. I'll move you guys down here. Yeah. I ended up doing 5 yesterday, so ended up being pretty fucking productive, not gonna lie. I'm gonna move this slightly back a little. But yeah. Let me find, oh. Here. Okay, so we're gonna put Mr. Reddit on. We're gonna adjust that camera so it's not making me look so fucking short, god damn it. And then we're gonna, so much fucking hair all over the place, bitch. Yeah. There's literally hair all over. This is a nightmare. Actually, maybe I should leave it up because then you guys can kind of, We'll just slightly. Okay. Hi, Poopos. You are tiny Poopos. Boop. Boop. Oh, I'm still, dude, Instagram is being so fucking weird. It literally won't. I tried posting something. It's still trying to post it. Like, just work already. For fuck's sake. Won't let me promote. Anyway. Ignoring that, we're gonna throw on some Mr. Reddit. I'm gonna, hopefully, actually, I don't need AirPods anymore. Goodbye. I wish this bitch would fucking post. Holy shit. Why won't I post? It won't even let me cancel the post. Fuck you, Instagram. Whatever. Okay, I'm gonna just pull up chat then. Yeah, where's chat? Hello, chat. There's chat. Okay. Hi, everyone. Beep, beep, boo. Let me find. Okay, here's one.
Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Today we have a very special episode for you. A compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we read over the past year.
How's that volume?
So
How's
back,
the volume
relax,
in general for
and enjoy a few
everything?
hours of the most entitled parents you've ever
Hopefully
heard
good.
of. And by the way, Karen assured
This
me
little
that
bitch
if
wants
this
my
video
fucking
gets
waffle
1,000
again.
likes, she
Then
will
you can't
transfer
have
to
it.
anyone's manager
No.
for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become an official member of the Re-Army
so
today,
we're gonna...
and I'll give you a shout out in an
You're not
upcoming
getting
video
anything.
r/Entitled
Not for
Parents.
you.
Karen loses
right
it on
here.
poor
That's
cashier
why she's...
because she couldn't give her money to feed her kid. Today I ran into possibly
We're
the
not
most
doing this
entitled
today.
Karen and goblin
So,
I've
look
seen
at Mama.
in a
We're not
while.
doing this today,
So
okay?
a little backstory.
We're not doing this
My
today.
best friend is British,
We're not doing
while
this.
I'm Latin American.
We're not
As
doing
an
it.
early birthday gift,
We're not doing
she sent
it.
me some cash
It's
through
not
Western
happening.
Union for me
We're
to
not
get my
gonna do
nails
this
done
today,
at this
okay, doggy?
incredibly fancy salon I've been wanting to go to for a while. And I had to pick it up at this agency
Just manhandle
where
the
you
fuck
can
out of her
collect
face.
cash or pay bills. When I got there was a huge queue. But since I was on a tight schedule,
Oof,
I had
don't
no
know
option
which
but
one
to
to
bite
start
the proverbial
with.
bullet and queue. Anyway, I walked over to the queue,
Let's start with a
whipped
harder
out my
one since I
Nintendo
have
Switch,
energy.
and proceeded to search for moons all over Mario Odyssey World. After maybe
This
5
one.
minutes, a young
This is one I've
woman
been
that was
dreading.
already in the queue told us that Western Union's system was down and that we had to wait. I weighed my
By the way, I have
options
shorts
and
on,
decided to stay
in
around for
case
a
you were
little while.
wondering.
Otherwise, I'd have to pick up the money some other time. Just as I moved out of the queue, Karen and her girlfriend made their appearance. The woman had to be in her late 40s,
Let's do this
early
first.
50s, and her kid was
It'll
around
be
4.
easier.
She already had this "I need the manager" look about her, and when she heard what the young woman had said, she saw the opportunity to rant, and you can bet your heart she took it. She complained about how slow the cashier was, about the fact that she had been there for 40 minutes already, about how the cashier was probably so slow because she didn't know how to do her job. I tuned her out.
Yes, that's why
and
she
went
got
back to my
hired
game.
for it.
When
Makes
Karen
sense.
noticed no one was paying attention, she went back to the queue, intent on getting her money,
Okay.
even if the system was not up and running. As I said before, the queue was huge, so it was a good 20 minutes before Karen got to the cashier. While we waited,
Bubbles, okay, you're driving me freaking crazy. I need the pups are out.
and kicked
Out.
the walls over and
Bubbles,
over.
you're begging
So
too
much
much.
so that he left countless
Out,
imprints
Soul,
of his shoe
Soul,
on the
go
walls.
out there. You're
Meanwhile,
driving me fucking
Karen
crazy.
said
Let me
nothing
finish the wall
and let her
up
kid
first,
do
and
as
then
he
you can come
pleased.
back.
An old
Oh my
lady
God.
tried to gently calm him down, but he simply wouldn't
She is
listen.
just
Anyway,
hovering.
Karen finally made it
Ugh.
to the register.
Anyway,
conversation
thank you,
went like
dickhead.
this.
I will give them
Karen,
some when they're
I
not.
am here to get my money.
When they come back, I will give them
Cashier.
one. Remind
I'm
me,
sorry,
okay?
ma'am. The system
Because they'll
is
come
still not
back
working. I suggest
once
you
my
try
waffle's
again around
gone.
3
Let me
p.m.
finish
It
this
was 12
fucking
p.m.
bitch.
The system should be up
Oh
and
my
running
God.
by then. Karen
Okay.
lost her mind
Okay.
right then and there. She started screeching. No, that is not happening. I'm not moving from this spot until I get my money. Cashier.
But yes, so
As I
any
told
420
you,
tips,
there's
they're
nothing
getting
I can do if the system isn't working.
edible.
That's a lie. You are a liar. You don't know how to do your job. That's what's going on here. You are an
Why-
employee, and you are useless, and don't know how to do your
Why do
job.
Karens always say this?
Cashier, visibly upset. Ma'am, I've worked here for over 1.5 years. I know how to do my job. If the system is down, there is BS. Why don't you restart your computer? Why don't you
Yes,
try
that's
to fix
the
it?
solution.
I want my money now.
Huh?
You probably want me to come
Almost
back
fell
at
over
3
for
p.m.
good though.
because that's when the other
Okay, I'm
cashier
gonna take
pops in, and
This
she,
off because it's gonna get hot.
knows how to do her job. By this stage, everyone in the queue was either baffled, angry, or a mixture of both. The guy behind her was
Should
livid.
put this up
He
higher.
walked up to Karen and told her to shut up and leave the cashier alone because she was no one to give her orders, especially when it was clear she had no idea what she was talking about. Karen didn't back down. I'm not shutting up.
Why
This
not?
woman has my money. I need the money.
The fucking
because I
Karen
have none
boys, I don't know why.
left.
It just
Not
gets
to
me
pay for
every
the bus
time.
back home or buy my son lunch. He is hungry and has been here for 2 hours already. Not
Bubbles
true.
driving me fucking crazy,
Nobody
bro.
seemed to care much
She's
about
gonna,
this.
like,
And they tell Karen
she's
to
a
get
menace.
out because she was holding everybody up. Seeing as the system was down and the situation was
She's
a
back
silent show,
already.
I put away my Nintendo, turned on my heels, and I started to walk out of there. Towards
Let
the
me eat, you
Starbucks
little
cafe
cunt.
inside the agency. Just as I was walking out, I bumped into the same young woman who had let us know the system was down. Young woman, the system's still down, right? I nodded. Young woman, oh, well, I guess I'll have to go to another Western Union to get my money. Now, I've been using Western Union for years, and I know its ins and outs. If the system is down, then every single Western Union agency won't be working. I told her that it was pointless for her to try and go somewhere else, and suggested that she wait like the cashier said, since it wasn't unusual for the system to fail every once in a while. Unluckily for us, Karen overheard. She had been kicked out of the queue, but still wasn't done. She made a beeline for us, ready to talk crap about the cashier. Karen, that useless jerk has no idea what she is talking about. How does she know that the system would be up and running by 3 p.m.?
Cause it's
Is
her
she
job.
rich or something? I don't think so.
Cause
She just doesn't want to do her job. How hard can it be to restart her computer?
bitch, why would you
I
think
felt my
that's the
soul give a
solution?
silent cry at this boomer not understanding how the internet works. But I still kept my cool and put on a smile. I explained to her that the problem was not
Seriously,
the
though.
computer, but rather the system the computer was connected to. So
Motherfucker.
restarting the computer wouldn't have solved anything. I also told her I've been using Western Union for years, that it isn't uncommon for it to fail sometimes, but that it will be up and running in a few hours. Still, Karen wasn't buying it. She was determined to think the cashier was a useless lump, and she said so loudly. That was when I lost it. Me. Listen, the cashier did nothing wrong. There is a problem in the system. It's not working anywhere right now. What part of this do you not understand? But the woman didn't even... No, stop it. She did nothing wrong. You were in the wrong. You can't talk to people like that. You were rude. I kid you not.
Rude.
Karen gave me a death glare. And what do you know? You weren't here before. She made me wait for hours, and my kid is hungry, and I have no money to feed him. But what do you know about dealing with an upset child? She was right. I don't deal with an upset kid. I deal with 30 at a time, because I am a teacher. Anyway, after she said that, I told her it wasn't the woman's fault her kid was hungry, or that she had no money for the bus. She still had no right to talk to the woman like that. Karen
it's all brushed.
This
one, this part of it was easier.
I smiled to myself.
Hopefully the other part will go as easy as that, because that was actually easier than I thought it
like
would.
Being a jerk runs in the family. Karen stopped dead in her tracks and spun on her heels to face me, ready to attack.
Straighten it
She
out.
started screaming at me that I have no idea what it was like to have a hungry child. I never got to hear the rest of her sentence because I was done with her.
I want to hear chat.
I had turned on my heels, marched into the
Dude,
nearby
boomers and their
Starbucks,
lack of
and slammed
internet
the door
bros,
behind me,
indeed.
leaving a livid Karen talking to herself. Next we've got the student has become the master. It's the early 2000s, and I am a senior in high school. My graduating class had 800 students in it, and the class itself was a massive campus broken up into around 6 buildings. The first day of my senior year, we spent the entire day in homeroom. You would only visit homeroom maybe 3 or 4 times a year at this school. It was just an easy way to break the student body
unless
up
we
into
finish all of
manageable
these
groups.
today, we're definitely
If
going to be
every
working on
student
legs
has to do a
tomorrow.
thing, line up by homeroom. If a teacher needs
But who knows, we could
way to
finish
break
today.
up class into
It's
groups,
possible.
Homeroom building letter.
We only have
Want to check out a book? Name and homeroom.
2,
Want
3,
tickets to prom?
4,
School
5,
ID and
6,
homeroom.
7, 8,
School needs to
9.
make sure everyone
10,
watches a
11,
presentation. For hour 1,
There's
please
15
go to
left.
homeroom. For all this homeroom talk,
There's
we
15
actually
left,
sat in
including the
room
one we're
twice
working
my
on,
senior
so...
year. And in the case of my room in
So far,
particular,
we've been able to
only
do like
once.
5 a
So it
day.
is the first day of school.
I'm guessing
I have my schedule in hand.
that's
and
how
headed to
long
my
it's going to take.
homeroom. Room A003.
But we'll find out.
So,
Because some of them have
in the
actually gone a
basement.
lot
Room
faster.
3, there it is. I sit down well before the bell and
Oh, this
manage
heats
to
up so
snag
fast,
the
it's great.
last of the 16 desks in this broom closet of a room. Shortly thereafter, we are a standing room only. And by the time the first bell rings, we upgrade to 1 sardine tin worth of students. 36 students, 16 desks.
Oh
We
god.
haven't even gotten to that class yet.
What?
But things are not adding up. My homeroom teacher stands in the doorway, takes one look at his sardine students and says, "Nope, everyone out into the hallway." So we all march out of our clown car classroom. The teacher then takes us to room A004, which is over twice the size and has plenty of desks. The teacher tells us, "Just write A004 on your schedules. If you are asked your homeroom number, say A003. But if you are told to go to homeroom, come here instead." Fast forward 1 school year. It's the last day of school. Now, for obvious reasons, no sane teacher in this district would think to demand a class of seniors to do anything on the last day of high school other than watch the clock. We are sent to homeroom. Now, I just so happened to measure it at 6'2", and my hard-grown peach fuzz beard had matured into a wonderful dark brown. All those nights of standing in the mirror using sheer willpower to make it grow more had paid off. And the icing on this cake was the fact that I had elected. Okay, so we had some family stuff to go to.
I'm laughing because that's
and
what I
would
did
have
with
to
my
leave
tits.
the school and try to sell family stuff directly. So I was dressed in my Sunday best, a full-sleeve collared button-down with slacks and my nice leather formal shoes. These 3 things became the trifecta for this series of events. The bell rings and no teacher. Okay, maybe he's late. 10 minutes after bell. Maybe he's really late. 15, 30, So there was nothing but chaos in the classroom. Everyone was doing whatever they wanted with no hands barred. I elected to doodle in my notebook, like the cultured young adult I was pretending to be. That is when my pencil broke. So I get up and head over to the pencil sharpener and get to sharpening. I stop and admire my handiwork when there is a knock at the door. This kills half the noise in the room. I open the door to find an older, 5 foot, not an inch more, looking the 14 inches up at me. She hastily explains that her class is missing. Before I get a word in, she shows me a piece of paper. She is a substitute teacher, and she is subbing for our homeroom teacher.
On the last
class
day?
Is down to hushed whispers as everyone is listening.
That's weird as fuck.
I just look at this poor lady as she explains that all the kids just haven't shown. Not a single one. Is this a building? This is A003, right? At this time, one of my more quick-thinking
How did no one
raises
explain
her
this to
hand
her?
and says, Mr. OP, this clues me in, and all the pieces click into place. I excuse myself and address the class, asking them to please keep it down and keep out their health books. Page 107. Without a single misstep, my comrades in arms all grab their books and turn to the page. Not one word is uttered for fear of breaking the voodoo that we were casting. My fate as the teacher of A004 was sealed at that point. I give the substitute instructions to get to the main office and tell her to double check the assignment.
I'm sorry,
She
what?
hurries off, and I turn to my class. For a few terrible minutes, no one breathes. Then, when we hear the sound of someone ascending the stairs out of the basement, we all burst into laughter. Now begins phase 2, sealing the deal. A few students rush up
so
and scribble
fucking
health-related notes up on the whiteboard. I grab my health book, turn to the fateful page. Wouldn't you know it? Human growth and development. Nice. A watcher keeps an eye on the hallway. Sure enough, 20 or so minutes later, the sub returns, and she is not alone. One of the principals came along for the ride.
Oh no.
They examined A003. No kids. We panic. A principal was not part of the plan. The largest kid in the class jumps up. My time to shine, he says. He grabs his books and stands in front of the class. He all but obscures me from view. The door opens, and the principal sticks his head in the room. Big Kid is halfway through describing the precise medical definition of a particular part of the male body. Not the one you are probably thinking of, by the way. And without even a double take, the principal is gone. Victory.
Oh my god.
We spend the
How did that
remaining
work?
6 or so hours of class completely unsupervised. It truly was the best day of my high school career.
That's
And for
amazing.
clarification, the sub sat in the old homeroom and did not get sent home. She basically got paid to sit on her phone for the day.
Hey, I mean,
What
everyone
was the first
wins.
experience you had when you were in school?
Everybody
Leave a comment, let
wins.
me know. Next week,
That
guys,
is so
entitled
fucking
Roommate
funny.
Made my life unbearable.
Yeah,
So
they're still
I
roofing
got
Katie. They're gonna be doing
few
it for a
years
few
ago,
days, it
when I
looks
was in
like.
my early
And,
20s, I moved in with a friend. We'll call
yeah.
him Bob.
Oh,
Bob
she's
was
here.
a bit of
Hi,
a
Katie.
drinker and partier,
I
but he
didn't even
would get
notice.
some outside the house. So
Thought you were
it
asking
was
me,
not
and I'm just like, I mean, yeah. I thought she said that.
my long since ex-girlfriend also living there. I had lost my job.
Sorry.
been out of work for
Sorry,
a
I
while,
was focusing
not
on
for
the
lack of
fucking
trying,
story.
in a very small town with not much to do for work.
Pardon me.
Bob worked 2 jobs. He loved partying and drinking so much, he didn't mind if he hardly had a life to get to enjoy it. And my girlfriend worked in a nursing home during the day. I
Okay.
felt pretty worthless, since I was no longer the breadwinner anymore. But did
Alright,
what I
this is
could
coming
to help
together.
out. I got food stamps to take on the food situation for the household. Cleaned, cooked,
Let's see if
and
this
did
looks
whatever
good.
I could to keep anyone needing to do a thing once they were done working for the day. It was literally the least I could do given the circumstances. About a month or 2 into our living arrangements, Bob suggested his old high school buddy, we'll call him Jerk,
This is
move
for
in.
Shiro's
Bob
hair.
explained that he worked on the
If
boats,
you were
and he would be
wondering
gone
which
for a month at a
cosplay this
time
was
and
for,
be
because
back
I've
for
only
2
used it
weeks.
once, and it was a
Dry,
while
rinse,
ago
and
just for a
repeat.
test.
My girlfriend and I thought, should I
Need a new
problem,
dress.
right? Wrong. From moment 1, day 1, Jerk was a major passive-aggressive jerk. Bob walked him over to introduce us, and he shook my hand in a manner that he was obviously trying to crush my hand and intimidate me. I could tell from how he looked and acted like an entitled jerk, but what he did and said immediately after confirmed it. So, you don't work
Okay.
and live here rent-free? Must be why Bob asked me to move in.
Oh.
Sure is nice for you, huh? Before I could say anything,
Drama.
Bob spoke up and clarified that while I didn't work, I kept the house clean, cooked, and kept the fridge stocked. I was not mooching and doing my part. Jerk proceeded to say,
but his girlfriend works while he stays at home all day? That's totally not cool. It should be you taking care of her, not the other way around.
Okay, I'm not.
While I totally agreed that I'd rather be there for her than the other way around, I didn't need this jerk commenting and making assumptions that this is what I wanted or needed to hear. Look, I don't enjoy being the one who stays at home while everyone else works. I'd rather be out there working, contributing, and doing something worthwhile.
Okay.
This is not something I chose. If someone called me and offered me a job right now, I'd take it in a heartbeat. I'd prefer it if you stopped inferring that I'm just a lazy bum, I said as politely as I could, despite how angry I was. Jerk looked at me like I grew a second head or something and told me to calm down, like he hadn't said anything that was the least bit insulting, even though he clearly had. He didn't apologize, of course, and he eventually met my girlfriend when she came.
Part 1.
Jerk was very polite and proceeded to make passes at her. We need to find you a working man, or you could use someone like me to treat you right. My girlfriend was less than enthused.
Oh my god, you went to bed at 3:30? Ugh, that's so late.
With me. So, from the get-go, neither of us liked Jerk at all. We resolved to keep as much space between him and us as possible. Unfortunately, Jerk had about as much social awareness, social cues, personal boundaries, and
okay, this is the hard part. Fuck.
He constantly came barging into our living area, even after being told to either knock and be acknowledged to enter or not come in at all. Also,
so I'm an idiot and I accidentally left a few ponytails in this when I put it in the wash without realizing.
Between having over a dozen
Don't know how that happened,
all
so
drunkenly stomping around
I'm
and
gonna
being
hope this
loud,
comes out
he was
easy.
blaring music so loud that the entire house
Mistakes were made.
His parties were also causing a huge mess in both the house and yard, as well as damage. Jerk and his buddies were also cleaning out the cupboards and fridge of all food for the rest of us, effectively leaving the rest of us with nothing and having to rebuy the food out of pocket. Bob was almost never home. He was either working or
honestly,
at a
thank God for the
place.
fabric softener because it helps a lot.
He came in drunk, so he would pass out, wouldn't hear any of it. He also woke up hungover and rushing into work, so he hardly noticed all that was going on. My girlfriend and I sat down with Bob and explained the situation to him. We explained that we had tried talking to Jerk and telling him that he needed to quit coming into our living area all the time, and to either politely keep it down so my girlfriend could get some sleep for work, or take it elsewhere. We told him about the food, the major mess he was making, and the damage to the house. Bob was livid. He told us that he
look at that curl though, that is a nice curl.
We hoped that would fix the issue.
Yes,
Wrong.
bitch.
This clearly, like everything else, didn't get through to him. And from there, it only got worse.
That is
The
a perfect little ringlet.
were more frequent.
Goodbye, little ringlet. You're gonna go away.
And the parties got even bigger and more out of hand. A couple of times, the neighbors actually called the cops on Jerk's parties, and he still wouldn't calm down. It was a nightmare. We now knew that the situation would never improve, and further complaints would only make it worse than before. We couldn't move out given our financial situation.
Oh wait, I'm an idiot. I have a Swiss Army knife, duh.
Bob's oldest and best friend. We didn't want to risk getting kicked out for causing issues. So I began finding ways to get back at Jerk silently, and without a way to link it to us. Firstly, he had to do his laundry downstairs since that's where the washer and dryer were located in our living area. So whenever he had to put his laundry in the dryer, I'd stop it and pee in it before starting it up again. All his dryers and bedding smelled like straight up pee, and he couldn't figure out why. Jerk wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Secondly, whenever Jerk was gone,
damn it,
I'd
now
go
I'm thinking of the
upstairs
Shrek
and dump out 75% of his drinks and replace them with water. This reduced how loud and rambunctious he'd get, with the added bonus of having to go out and get more in the middle of the night. Effectively,
I don't know how I forgot that I have a Swiss Army knife like next to me, but okay.
Thirdly, I would also, just for fun, put his toothbrush in the toilet while he was out.
Been nice
and
the
put it
last
back.
few days.
Jerk started complaining that he constantly tasted something
Leave that
gross
out
every
so
time he
forget
used
it
his toothbrush,
again.
and that he couldn't understand why. This was just icing for me, but he actually had a lot of trouble hooking up with anyone because of it. Eventually, despite all of this, it didn't rid us of either his presence or behavior, and it was still taking its toll on my girlfriend. This had continued for a few months before I concocted a way to get him out of the house longer. Jerk always always left on the last Sunday of his 2 weeks off in the morning to return to the boats. He also had a big fancy truck with huge custom tires on it. These tires typically ran about $300 to $400 a tire and were special order tires, hard to find outside of ordering them online. So I started putting nails under a couple of his tires before he left, so they'd puncture his tires when he left. But they wouldn't go flat immediately. He'd get to the boats fine, but his tires would be flat. Jerk would have to stay a week, or even the whole 2 weeks, special ordering or tracking down new tires while he was stuck in the town he was in at a hotel.
So I was trying to make this more stable.
And I would either have just 1 week of misery, or the whole thing being peace and quiet. It was glorious. This continued for about 2 or 3 months before Jerk finally couldn't take all his misfortune anymore. He told Bob he was moving out when he got back, and that it was because everything was going wrong since he moved in. This was especially funny because Bob told us afterwards that he was planning to ask Jerk to move out because he was trashing the house, driving up the utilities, eating up all the food, and refusing to pay the difference. Jerk finally showed up a week late from the boat because of the tire situation, so there was no time for him to relax. Between finding somewhere to put his stuff, somewhere to live, and move everything, this took him all of his final off week to do. Finally, on his last day, Jerk came busting into our room.
Oh, because his birthday's tomorrow.
And saying he was leaving because everything had been going wrong and felt off since he moved in. Clearly wanting sympathy or something. We just nodded and said that's tough while going about our business. Jerk just kept going on and on about everything, despite the fact that we weren't paying him any attention, and you could clearly see that we didn't care about what he had to say. Finally, we both got fed up and just looked him dead in the eye and told him he had been a terrible roommate who had no respect for anyone, and that he deserved everything that was happening to him, plus some. He stormed off, and we never saw him again. Bob did tell us that he had been couch surfing since he moved out, and that nobody would let him stay with them because of his behavior. It was glorious, and it brought a smirk to my face every time I heard it. I've long since moved out, and am no longer with that girlfriend, and my life is in a much better place. I lament to myself that maybe I was being too underhanded and vindictive, but this guy was toxic, and in all honesty, he got what he deserved. I just hope no one else gets stuck rooming with this guy. Have you ever had a roommate? If so, did you enjoy it? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, I knew it would happen, but really hoped it wouldn't. Cast. We've got me, we've got the greeter, we've got nice manager, elder lady, and entitled customer. Backstory. I've been unemployed since September 19th, and started working for a shopper delivery program to pay for gas, insurance, and car note. This happened about 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to be close, but it's memory. So I'm at a store I regularly shop at. It's kind of like Walmart, but it's not. I wave hello to the greeter and head to produce, which is the first section entering in the food side. I'm minding my business, checking the app for the customer's order, and occasionally directing lost customers to items such as avocado or plums, which had small displays. I see elderly lady kind of struggling a bit, and decided to see if I can help. Me. Hi, I apologize, but you look a little lost. Do you need any help? I'm a company shopper. Elderly lady. Thank you. I recently moved in with my daughter, and have never been in this particular store. I continue shopping for my customer, and stay near elderly lady to help her with her list. All is going well, and even with my good deed for the day, I'm still on schedule. Elderly lady says to me that she is going to head to checkout, and added that my mother must be proud. Enter our antagonist, entitled customer. Oh good, you're finally done with her. I simply walked on, as I assumed he was talking to a nearby employee. Entitled customer rushes in front of me. Hi, do I have your attention now? Me. Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking to an employee. I am, aren't I?
Puppy.
I don't work here. I don't
Menace.
care if it's near your break time. You still
You
work
better
here,
fucking be on good
otherwise
behavior.
I wouldn't have been helping her. I helped her out of kindness, and I don't work here.
Stay the fuck
I
away
push
from
my
my
cart
wall.
around him and walk off. I don't suffer idiots or entitled people too well. I'm heading to the front to check out when I felt a hand grab my shoulder.
Once I'm
I
rushing
spin
this,
around
I
as
will
best I can.
give you a snap.
Entitled customer. You don't just walk away from a customer.
Yes,
At this point, I unzip my jacket, which, thinking now, should have been a giveaway, as it was one I got at Home Depot, and showed him my shirt with a funny picture on it. Me. Does this look like a uniform to you? I'm going to get you fired. Greeter, go get a manager, now. The greeter gets on the radio and calls for LP and a manager. So we're both staring
Well, I
daggers
lost
at each
protection.
other while waiting for a manager to come by in dead silence. I'm 6'1", 430 pounds, staring down at a 5'10", maybe 180 pounds, and other customers are gathering around just in case.
Okay.
Enter our hero,
Steady.
manager. Okay, what seems to be
Oh, that
going
was
on?
loud.
The crowd disperses, and I motion to entitled
Boy.
customer to go ahead and get some rope.
Into bubbles.
Entitled customer. I followed this employee for 15 minutes while he helped an elderly
No, they
woman.
got it.
Then he refused to help me. I want him
Then
fired,
he
and
refused
I want
to
to
help
watch
me.
him sign the termination papers. You are not going to protect him. Manager looks at me. And what's your story then? I simply pulled out my phone and showed her the shopper app. Greeter. He shops for people. He's in 4 times a day some days. Manager looks at entitled customer and shakes her head. It seems like the pieces are finally coming together. Or he can see the code of the Matrix as his self-righteous smile faded. Entitled customer. Well then, which aisle is cereal? Me, manager, and greeter. Aisle 19. Moral for any Karen or Chad types. Don't argue. If you ask nicely,
LMAO.
I find many people will help, employee or not. Speaking of groceries, what's your favorite grocery store of all
Hey,
time? Please leave
back
a comment
the
right
fuck
now,
off.
letting me know.
Uh-uh.
I'm on vacation.
Back- oh,
so
sorry,
I get to
Bubbles.
use your pool.
I'm sorry.
It's the law.
I didn't mean to bother
Once
you.
a
Back
year,
off,
when I
though.
was younger, my
No
parents
puppies
used to
right
take
here.
us
This is
all
not a
on
puppy
trip to
zone.
Puerto Rico, where we had
Block
stayed
you,
in these
the
orange
garbage can.
resorts on the beach. I was
It's not for
reminiscing
you.
on these
Back
trips
off.
earlier with my
You
husband
back.
and
Stay back.
remembered the
Okay?
free
I'm sorry
secret
for
pools
blocking you.
my mom used to
I love
take
you.
us to,
I'm sorry.
only to realize what the deal really was with them. One specific story in particular comes to mind about the secret pools. I had to be about 7 or so at the time. My cousins were on the trip with me and were roughly about my
Heather.
age. When the sun beat down too much, the sand got annoying, and we were all crying and cranky. We'd visit the secret pools. My mom used to lead us up all of these paths around big beach houses. She would go up to some and check the gates. If it was locked, we kept going.
Okay, this is actually going
Finally,
so
one
much
was
easier than I
open,
thought it
and
was
she
going to
went
be.
in first to check if anyone was in. She called us in, where a big infinity-style pool and hot tub awaited in this gorgeous
Ugh,
backyard.
infinity pools are so
We were
nice.
told to jump in and
I
have
love
fun,
infinity pools.
which we all did without asking questions. About 15 to 20 minutes later, someone appears at the back door. The following conversation goes down in Spanish, so I'll translate roughly English. Remember, I am unfortunately entitled Kid 1 in this story.
Oh.
Owner. Who are you, and what are you doing on my property? Mom. The kids are just playing and cooling off. We won't be long. Owner. No, I don't know you. How did you get in here? Mom, getting annoyed. You left the gate open. We were walking by, and my kids saw your pool. Owner. Yeah, that's not okay. Please leave.
I agree.
What? We're on vacation. You left your gate open. It's completely legal for us to be in here because it's on the beach and it's public.
Girl.
We're visiting your country anyway, so we should feel welcomed by the locals.
Girl,
Just
no.
let the kids play. Owner, I'm afraid I cannot. Please get off my private property. Mom, no, just 5 more minutes, please. The resort's pool is far away and is way too full. Owner,
And whose
I will
fault
call
is
the
that?
police if you don't leave. Mom, ugh, fine. Entitled kids, we need to leave. Come on. Entitled kid 1, 5 more minutes. Mom, no, this mean lady says we need to leave. Both entitled kids start crying. Mom, see what you've done. You don't know how hard it is with kids on vacation. Owner, I have 2 kids, and that is not my problem. Both entitled kids get out in a huff. Entitled kid 2, turning to owner. Can I have a snack? Mom,
No.
it's the least you can do.
What?
Owner, what? No, I can get you some water, but I want a sandwich. Mom,
What
glaring
in the
at
hell?
owner as she leads entitled kids away.
Literally
You're
what?
disgusting. For years,
Ironic.
I still didn't understand and would ask about the secret pools whenever we went. After doing it maybe once or twice again at other places, my mom claimed she had no idea about these secret pools and told me to stop talking about them. After over a decade, I remembered these pools and had the realization of what was really going on. Oof. Edit. Yeah, for those asking, we were coming from a state in America. And yes, I know Puerto Rico isn't another country, but my mom didn't. Best part? Her parents were literally born and raised in Puerto Rico. Have you ever been the entitled kid? If so, please let me know. Next we've got...
Where to begin?
Wow. My entitled Sergeant
My
Major.
God.
So, as a few may remember from my last post, I have PTSD, and like many soldiers, it took me a long time to admit it to myself, and longer to admit it to others. Before I really knew much about it, or even thought that I had it, I still knew something was wrong with me, and also, like many soldiers, I started to self-medicate. At first it was just drinking, which turned into basically anything else I could get my hands on.
Just drinking.
Now, I tried not to let it affect my work, but that's pretty hard to do in the military. And eventually, this all led to a nervous breakdown that led to me getting caught, losing my E5 rank, and eventually admitting to my leadership what was going on, and I asked for help. Luckily, my leadership liked me and cared about me and allowed me to go to the military.
Luckily, they treated me like a person. Wow, congrats. Oh, Jesus.
Regular visits with mental health as well. Now then, while my immediate leadership cared a lot more about me than I deserved, this event made my battalion sergeant major, my boss in civilian speak, absolutely hate me. He already had an issue with me before because of a joke I had made when first meeting him. He was from an engineer unit that had been doing some kind of mining work before being transferred. So I asked if that wouldn't make him a sergeant minor instead of a sergeant major. A joke I still stand by.
That's a good one.
Normally, this wouldn't really be a big issue, as lower enlisted wouldn't have much interaction with someone of his rank.
But I was a bit of a special case. I never came down on PCS, permanent change of station, orders, so I spent all 8 years of service at the heck hole that is Fort Stewart, Georgia. Being such a seemingly permanent fixture in my unit, it wasn't unusual for me to be tasked to give the new NCOs of my company tours of the base and battalion, brigade areas, as well as introduce them to the S-Shop personnel, offices that run the day-to-day paperwork and stuff to keep the Army organized and running, as I knew most people there on base. Heck, for a little while, I had even dated a family friend of a brigade commander and sat in on a few poker games with them, the base commander, and other higher-ups. This led to me interacting with the sergeant major more than I should have, since I was in the battalion area more than I normally would have been, and also led to more dislike from him, since he perceived me as having more influence than I should have. I didn't really have much or any influence, but from time to time when meeting and passing, the brigade commander would say hi to me, so the sergeant major knew I had played a few games with the big boys on base. Okay, longest backstory ever over now. On to the event. So it was my last day in the unit, and I had just gotten the elusive and highly sought after Bulldog stamp, which is what the base personnel office uses to signify that you've completed all paperwork and are released from the post, as well as my DD-214, which states I'm no longer in the military.
Time to straighten.
I wasn't quite done at the post, though, as a lot of the guys in my company were throwing a going-away party for me. Just about everyone in my company was there, except for my best friend, who we'll call Ian, who was stuck on staff duty. A 24-hour shift where you basically just answer phone calls from wives angry that their husbands are working so much and breaking up drunken fights / unlocking barracks doors for soldiers that lock themselves out. Now, In and I had went to basic training together, and we were lucky enough to be stationed at the same unit together, and he'd been there as long as myself. We spent darn near every second together for 8 years at this point. We'd been through 3 deployments, multiple firefights.
Oh, live! It's your birthday! Happy birthday!
And was the guy who very literally drug me out of bed and dressed me and forced me to go out when my depression got so bad I couldn't make myself get out of bed. He was the best friend that I have ever and will ever have.
I will sing for you. I usually sing for people if it's their birthday. So
since he couldn't be there, we had plans.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear live. Happy birthday to you. Yay! How old are you?
This was maybe 11 p.m. or midnight. So didn't worry about running into
I just had my birthday on the 1st.
So I wasn't worried about someone there thinking I'm on.
Oh, is it still Virgo season?
So I walk in, and of course, true to my luck, was the Sergeant Major.
Yay, Virgos.
Talking to the staff duty NCO.
Okay, cool.
I was drunk, clumsy, and loud. So
Heat
he
it
noticed
up.
me straight away.
Where is
Sergeant
the front
Major.
of this? Here you
Scratch
are.
that, Sergeant. It looks like Logan here has shown up to volunteer to buff the floors. They better shine by the time I see you at PT.
Me, drunk, happy, and not wanting to end on drama. Roger that, Sergeant Major. He walks off to do whatever, and both In and his NCO laugh, knowing I'll be long gone by PT, and the only part I'd take in buffing the floors was to possibly stand on the buffer while In works it. This helps scratch the wax off before adding the new coat, and is also fun as heck. After a bit of a chat, I grab the key card from In and turn around to leave, and darn near plow right into the Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major.
I told you to start on the floors 30 minutes ago. What the heck have you been doing?
Me. Sorry, Sergeant Major. I'll get right on that.
No, you had your chance, and you've had more than enough since you've been here. You're getting another Article 15, and I'll have you out of the military by the end of the year.
Obviously, he yelled this, as that's the only way he knew how to speak, so everyone heard him. An important part I forgot to mention was that I had gone straight from the base office to the party, so I still had my paperwork on me. With a huge drunken smile, I hold up my DD-214 in his face, and yelling, though admittedly not nearly as loud, say, "No you won't, Sergeant Major. I'm a civvy now, so you can buzz off." And calmly walk past him and out of the doors as he's literally frozen in shock, as it's likely been 2 to 3 decades since someone has disrespected him like that, in public anyway. Admittedly, the walk was all show, and as soon as I was out of sight, I ran faster than I probably had on any PT test, and didn't stop until I was inside In's room. Yes, I was younger, and in much better shape than the Sergeant Major, but I had
I'm
no
gonna
illusions
sit
that I
up
could take
because
him.
this one is
He's been in the Army since 18,
a little
back
tall.
at a time when soldiers were trained to be a different kind of soldier than they are today, and I doubt I would have survived the confrontation without needing surgery. And even if I did somehow win, I doubt the MPs would be kind to someone who assaulted a Sergeant Major. So that's the story. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I spent a couple of weeks after that fielding calls from guys in the unit asking if it really happened, and became a bit of a legend when their story got around. Although, to save time, I may have left out the part where I ran away before he could process what happened. For those wondering, I'm in a much better place now. I haven't been classified as an alcoholic in years, and have even been alcohol-free since November 2018, and haven't had a drug problem since my unit sent me to get help. I still see a therapist twice a month, and as many saw in my last post, recently got a service dog to help. But I'm on meds that work, and even recently had a job change, going from working 14 to 18 hours a day to working 11 max, while still making 100 to 200 more a day. So, life is good, despite the rough road here. Thanks for reading. Next we've got the most blatant shoplifting I've ever seen. Okay, so I work at a certain store that sells things for $5 or less, and I've seen kids try to stuff chips in their big coat pockets, take a quick snack from the 10-cent candy when they think nobody's looking, all that fun stuff. But today was just the dumbest attempt at shoplifting that I have ever seen. So it's just me and my manager. So while she's cleaning, I'm keeping watch over the register and doing inventory in between sales. Eventually, this lady comes up to my register with her kid in a stroller, looking absolutely dead to the world, and places a few items on the counter. I'm ringing her up like normal until I notice a Peppa Pig play pack sticking out of the stroller. It's not hidden or anything, so I figured her kid was holding it and that she just forgot about it. So I pointed it out and asked if she was buying it. Customer: "Oh no, that's hers. You see, she brought it from home." "Ah, okay, sure. Your unconscious 3-year-old brought along an unopened play pack on her and mom's trip to the store. I'm already ready to call this woman out on it, but benefit of the doubt, right? She could have brought it from home and then fell asleep. But then this woman kept talking. Wow, you guys sell this here? I've never seen it in your store." She readjusts it in the stroller. "Hold on to it and don't lose it." Now, as she's readjusting it, I almost burst into laughter then and there. Me: "Ma'am, may I see the playpack?" Now, it took a bit of arguing, but I guess she decided she could convince me it was hers. So, as I'm holding on to it, I start questioning her. Me: "So, you say that your daughter brought this unopened playpack from home, correct?"
Yes, she did. And you say you've never seen it in our store before, correct? Yes, you don't sell them here. I haven't seen them once, and I don't appreciate being talked to like this. At this, I flip the package over and point to the bright yellow sticker that clearly says, store name, $5. Her face goes pretty red, so I offered to let her add it to her transaction or leave it here, because it was most definitely not her daughter's. In the end, she left it at the store after walking out, saying many words that should not have been said in front of her kid. Thankfully, she was still asleep. It honestly sucks, because people think they can get away with all kinds of crap at our location because we don't have security. Just observant cashiers. I was actually told during my training to not confront shoplifters, which makes me so angry. There's nothing I hate more than dishonesty, and it makes me wonder how many people I've sent off with a smile had stolen items in their pockets.
Fuck ton.
Speaking of 5 and under stores, what's your favorite store? Please
what is a
let me
5 and
know.
under
Next
store?
we've got
This is not
5,
a thing that
because
we
the
have
Karen
here.
lies. When I was about 18, I was working for X Home
We have a
Improvement.
dollar store.
I won't be giving out their name because I don't want it to backfire on me. I had been a cashier there
I'm guessing
for
it's the
about a
same
year and
principle.
was top dog in terms of extended protection plans and MDA donations. MDA is Muscular Dystrophy Association. This isn't all that important to the story, but feeds into why I still hold a grudge against the store for it. I had been homeless for most of the time I maintained this job. I was 19 at the time, but I finally had gotten a home because my grandparents moved close to my work and offered to let me stay with them to save up money, and I took that offer. I had gone to work on a day like just about any other, and was my normal goofy self. I would sing along with songs that played overhead, jokingly dance, and goof around with my coworkers. I see a lady coming toward the registers, so I flag her down to let her know I'm open, and she enters my lane. This is the Karen, by the way. Not knowing she was a Karen, I decided to try and joke around a little bit. I was standing there holding my scale gun in a James Bond pose, pretending to sweep the area with it. Not actually pressing the button, but just like a spy would when clearing a room.
LMAO.
And then I hear it. Excuse me? Why the heck are you pointing that thing at me? Me. I'm sorry? Why are you threatening me with that? Ma'am, I'm not intending anything as a threat. I apologize if you mistook my actions, but I was just goofing around with some of my coworkers while I was waiting for you to pull up to my register. Well, don't ever do that again. I apologized to her and went about scanning her items. Just a few odds and ends and a rub.
Don't threaten
I carried
me.
on with my day, and
What?
she seemed fine. She walked out of the door with a huge smile on her face, and I thought I had done a good job. I get a call from my manager telling me to report to the HR office immediately. I'm a little concerned, asking myself if it could be about the lady. I didn't know what was going on, but I maintained a positive attitude. My dad always says, think positive and positive things will come your way. I get there, and the door cracked open. I push it lightly and see the store manager and the assistant manager, as well as the HR lady sitting there. Store manager. OP, please have a seat. Assistant manager, would you please read him the complaint? Assistant manager just kind of glares at me before reading the paper he had in his hand. Well, we had a lady call up here about 20 minutes ago, absolutely bawling her eyes out, saying that you threatened her. She said you pointed the scanner at her. She stated when you were asked to stop that you glared at her and threatened her, calling her really mean names, and saying that you were going to track her down after you got off of work. I was in utter shock. My heart sank to my stomach, and tears began to well up in my eyes. I could not believe somebody would lie to someone about me like this. They made me seem like I belonged in some hillbilly horror movie. I knew what was coming, and I tried to reason with them, but I couldn't convince them to be on my side. They are hard believers in the Karen mantra, the customer is always
Why
right.
wouldn't you just say
Store
check the
manager.
cameras?
OP, I understand that you're upset right now, but you cannot say these things to a customer. Now, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. Leave your name tag and your vest here with us. You have 10 minutes to collect your things. After you leave here today, you are banned from the premises for 15 months. I ripped
Jesus.
my name tag and vest off and just threw it on the ground, trying to get out of there before they started. I walked down to the nearest grocery store parking lot and sat on a natural hill for hours, crying because I had been so harshly blindsided. I wouldn't even get to tell my side of the story. They fired me on a Class A violation, which means I am not hireable by any ex-improvement store in the country. I wound up getting a job at Walmart, which was also ended because of an entitled Karen. I'll post it later if you guys want. They didn't even review the footage because I know if they had, they wouldn't have fired me.
Why didn't
Sadly,
you tell them
there
to?
isn't a satisfying end to this one. It's just a tale of getting done over by a Karen. I hope you all enjoyed the read. Next we've got
People really need to learn to be assertive.
Gets me to remake a logo 8 times. I used to have an Instagram account where I would remix songs and edit photos. Usually the things I would make were related to popular movies and gaming. One day, I get a message from someone in some kind of gaming clan. He wanted me to make a logo for his clan. I didn't post or advertise for making logos, but I'm guessing that he assumed I could make logos based off the other stuff I posted, which I could. I made him a decent logo that took around 15 minutes to make and sent it to him. He set it as his profile picture and didn't say anything. An hour later, he notified me that the clan name had changed, and he wanted me to make a new logo. Here's how the conversation went. Entitled Kid. I need you to
The customer is usually an asshole, I agree.
I thought the name was old name. Nah, new name is better. So, I made him another logo, which took another 15 minutes and sent it to him. After that, he was happy. For 5 minutes. He used the new logo as his profile picture for 5 minutes, and then told me he changed the clan name again. I spent 5 minutes making him another logo and sent it to him. Rinse and repeat 5 more times. Each time the logo getting worse. Here was conversation on the 8th logo, entitled Kid. Why is it so bad? Me. Why did you change the clan name repeatedly after I made you a logo? It's your fault. The logos are so bad. Really? You didn't pay me anything. I did this just to help. If you were expecting something amazing, you should have paid someone to make the logos. Just remake the last logo and I won't be mad. I just blocked him after this. Absolutely ridiculous. Karen gets owned in a coffee shop.
Happy you did it for that long.
This is not my story, but my daughter's, her friends, an awesome staff guy, and the owner/manager of the coffee shop. They all had a blast telling it. About 7 years ago, my daughter met a new friend while skiing, and they hit it off instantly. We have since become really good friends with the family. They are rich. R-I-C-H. As in private jets, a full staff, etc. Luckily for us, their daughter loves to ski with my daughter. I ski with the dad, moms ski together, and they take us on amazing ski vacations that I could never afford in my life. Jet in, stay in ridiculous houses, best food, staff driving us around, etc. They are awesome, hardworking, and pretty humble people considering how much money they have. So this past Saturday, my daughter and her friend got to the hill early.
Well, usually if you've had to actually work for your money, you tend to be a little bit humble.
And asked about Wi-Fi. Sure enough, there was Wi-Fi, and they were directed to where the info is. Walk over to the sign, and it's being blocked by some woman who was leaning against it. My daughter, excuse me, could you please move over a bit so I can see the Wi-Fi info behind you? Karen, no, I'm waiting for my son's hot chocolate and my latte. I will leave when I get my drinks. Now, my daughter and her friend are dressed as typical park rat ski kids with 2 big pants, hoodies, etc. Up walks the staff guy. Let's call him Joe. Joe's about 6'4", 250 pounds, and an ex-Special Forces guy. Not someone you should ever mess with. Joe, ma'am, just move a bit so she can see the Wi-Fi code. Karen, listen, I paid a lot of money to come here for a vacation. I will move when my drinks are ready. Admittedly, the place was quite crowded. President's Weekend is one of the most crowded times at ski areas, but she could have moved a couple of feet. Joe, oh, you paid a lot of money to be here, huh? Well, this girl definitely paid more. Last night she flew in on a private jet. Her family has multiple suites rented at our most expensive hotel right here on the mountain. They have booked 4 private instructors for the day. Heck, I bet their dinner last night cost more than your whole vacation.
Did he get hired as a hype man as well?
And also personal protection. So since this is based on how much people pay to be here, get the heck out of the way of the sign. Karen, you can't talk to Joe. I can talk to you any way I want. I've been in the world's worst heck holes with people trying to hurt me. You don't scare me. What are you going to do? Cry on me?
It's a little extra.
Manager from behind the bar in a totally condescending tone. Lady, just move out of the way. Your drinks will be out soon. Karen, don't call me lady. You can't speak to me that way. Manager, listen, Karen. I am the manager and also the owner. You will get your drinks, and after that,
When
you will
Karen
never
meets
come
the
in here
manager,
again.
and the
A
manager
person
doesn't
who
give
will
her
not
what
move
she
2 feet
wants.
for a kid is not the kind of customer I want. If I see you in here again, cops will be called. Later in the morning, their group got to cut Karen and family off in line as they were ski school. Ski kids get priority, as they should when you are shelling out almost $1,000 a day. They then waited at the top,
Yeesh.
and my daughter carved right in front of Karen with her twin tips, which throw a huge rooster tail of snow right into Karen. I heard this at lunch and immediately decided I needed a coffee before going back out and booked it to the coffee
I
place.
think everyone here
I
kind
had a
of sucks, I'm
description
not
of the
gonna lie.
owner/manager, so I immediately sought him out. Me. Hey, I heard you got a woman to move.
You're
so
all
I
being
noticed
extremely
the Wi-Fi
petty.
sign earlier today.
Who cares?
Manager. Yeah, that lady was a real jerk. Me. Did you really call her a Karen? Oh yeah, she was the definition of a Karen. Me. Read it? Manager. Laughing his butt off. Definitely. That is where I learned about the Karens. Me. So, where should this go? I was
I'm
thinking
cringing
about
so
our
fucking
slash
hard right now.
Karens.
Oh my god.
Manager.
This
What is
did
that
everyone
sub?
start clapping?
I'm just usually in the service-related ones. Me. When you get home, crack open a beer and have a look. I think you will love it. It is definitely where this story is going. Have you ever been skiing, or how about snowboarding? Please let me know. And while you're at it, please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Next we've got Threaten My Roommate, Enjoy Failing Your Class. During my second year in college, I lived with 3 friends in a house that had another 4 guys living on the other side of the house. The 2 sides of the house had a lot of mutual friends, as my roommates had known them from high school. So we had tons of parties together during the year and got along pretty good. Until a few months before final exams. Each side of the house had its own electric, water, and cable bills, which we paid separately. I always handled our bills and paid them each month, but our water bill was actually in my roommate's name. I'll call him Bird. So one day, the biggest jerk on the other side of the house, La Jerk, who handled their bills, walked into our house when I wasn't there and confronted Little Bird and yelled at him, saying we owed him over $500. Apparently, their water bill each month was about $125, and ours was $40 to $50. Le Jerk thought there had to be a mistake in the billing, so we should split the bills down the middle. After I was told about this confrontation, I contacted the water company and asked about the billing. I was told over the phone the bills were specifically split up to each side of the house, but a person would come out to check the water meters. The next day, a technician stopped by and looked at the meters to make sure they were operating correctly and that they were billing to the separate sides of the house. He confirmed there wasn't an issue with the meters or billing and basically said they are probably using more water. End of story. I told my roommates about this, but because of my schedule, I didn't see Le Jerk for about a week. During that time, he confronted Little Bird a couple more times, who told him about the water company's position. But again, he was yelled at inside our own house and was again told that we needed to split the bills with them. Then the weekend comes. My roommates and I head to a house party hosted by some mutual friends. At some point during the party, I was in the front yard when a friend runs up to me and says Le Jerk is trying to fight Little Bird. We run to the backyard and through about 50 people, I can see Le Jerk with his roommates behind him in the middle of the circle pushing Bird, yelling that he owes him money, and he throws him into a beer pong table where he had held him down, saying he was going to beat Bird up.
Alright.
I nearly lose my mind
done
when I
it.
see this, and immediately grab Le Jerk, say a few choice things, and shove him away. I wanted to do more, but it wasn't worth it.
Okay.
Yeah. So Le Jerk and I actually had a class together. We weren't friends, never sat together, and since the whole water bill incident, we never even looked at each other in the 500-person lecture. He always sat with one of his roommates, and I sat with one of my best friends, Rose. As the water bill fight somewhat subsided, and the final exam got near, Le Jerk and his roommate started to act more civil and would even make small talk to Rose and I in the hall about the final, worth 75% of the grade. Topics to study, blah blah blah. They knew Rose and I had A's in the class. It wasn't a very difficult class, but I enjoyed it, and actually studied quite a bit, and knew I'd probably get an A, and maybe I had let Rose cheat on me in the first test. I told Rose I had a feeling LeJerk and his roommate
Oh my gosh.
since they were being so nice, and that I expected them to try and cheat on us. So I came up with a plan if they tried.
Let me look
Now,
at
the
chat
format
for
of
a
the test
sec.
is important. It was a packet of questions with answers A, B, C, and D listed vertically. And
Yeah,
then
I
you
have
transfer your
a
answers to
playlist.
scan
Here, I
file,
can
which is
link
another
it
sheet of paper
to
that gets
you.
put through a machine. I'm not sure how familiar people are with it. With this format, I told Rose that I would circle an answer, she would look over and circle the same answer, with a big circle, ensuring that anyone looking could see. We would do this for the entire 100-question final, before marking our answers on the Scantron.
There you go, there's
The
my
key to the
playlist.
revenge plan
It's
was that the
got a
actual
lot of
answer
like
was
repeats
always
and
going
also
to be the
videos that have been
answer
deleted
directly
over the years because
below
I've had
the
it for a
circled
while,
answer.
but
So
enjoy.
if the
It's got a
circled
lot of
A,
random
the
ass
answer
music
put
on
the
it.
Scantron is D. If the circled answer is D, the answer we put is A. For a few days, I kind of thought I was being weird and crazy to come up with this plan, because there was no way this guy actually thought
I don't know if I've ever met anyone
and I
named
was
Karen.
blinded by anger. Either way,
What do you think?
when the day of the final exam came, we got to the room early, and I sat on the far right
think
seat
so.
of a row with Rose to my left. Guess who strolls in and decides to sit next to us for the first time all year
Yeah, I think
after
so.
he'd written my best friend a month before? Oh yeah, LeJerk. Dude had no shame and snuggled right in the seat next to Rose with his roommate next to him. Rose and I could barely believe it and had to use some serious composure before the test started. The two of us operated like a well-oiled machine. We circled our answers large, and at the end we went back through and marked the correct answers onto the Scantron. During the test, we could both see LeJerk and his roommate leaning and copying our circled answers. Unreal. Fast forward to the summer break, and LeJerk's roommate came over to our side of the house when he saw Rose was there with me. He opened a beer and chatted for a bit before he finally got to what we were waiting for. So, how did you guys do on that test? I remember looking at Rose and saying something like, I don't remember exactly, but I know I ended up with an A in the class. And she chimes in saying, yeah, that sounds about right, because I got a 92 on the test. The look on his face told us everything we needed to know, and he mumbled out, really? LeJerk and I both failed and have to take the class again. Next we've got, I literally can't help you when I'm not at work. So some background. I currently work for a retailer, one of the big 4 cell companies, all referred to as cell
Hello.
in a small country town. We try to emphasize customer
I feel like a lot of
service, but
Chads
there's a
are
point where
nice.
the
I don't
just
think.
becomes too much.
I think there's a
I'll
lot
refer
like
to the
the
demon of the
Chad
story as
stereotype isn't
Karen,
always a
although
bad
I
one.
didn't get her name. And of course,
If that makes
I'll refer
sense.
to myself in the first person.
I think a lot of
I closed
times
the shop about an hour
the
before
people
the
who
events of
are,
the story, so
like
I'm still in my
Chads
company
or
photo
whatever,
as
like
I browse the aisle of a store
I think only
with a
incels
yellow
see them
star
see that as
I'll
being
refer
a
to
bad
as
thing.
Walmart. Then this shorter lady walked up to me, seemingly pleasant. Mary, excuse me, do you work at Celltown? Me, yes ma'am.
Okay,
I
let's
just
see what
closed the store
I
an
want to
hour
do
ago.
next.
Oh, alright. I just wanted to see if you could help me pay my bill. Me. Oh, well, if you have the Carrier's app, you can pay through there. Carrie. Oh, great. I'll have to download that. After that, I smiled and wished her well. Feel free to come by, blah blah blah. The usual customer service stuff. I ended up grabbing what I
Okay.
needed from the store and went to the register.
Another
where
challenging
I
one.
ended up talking with an old coworker as I worked at Allmart years before I joined Celltown. As I was just about to put my card in the reader to pay, Carrie runs up in a huff. Carrie, excuse me, there's a problem with my bill. She shows me her phone. This is $30 higher than what I normally pay. Me, oh, well,
Here we
if you
go.
come in tomorrow, we can, she cuts me off. I don't want to come in tomorrow. Help me now.
Look, it's you,
My eyes widened
Pabon.
at her abruptness. I'm sorry,
It's the
ma'am,
same
but
color
I
as
can't help you without
Pabon.
my company tablet. I
Why are you
say,
so
paying for
cute?
my stuff and putting
You
my
cute,
bags
baby.
in my cart.
No, don't run.
Well,
Don't run.
go
Don't
get
run.
it. Me, I can't. The shop is locked
If I
and
give you
closed.
snack, will you run?
Once we close for the night, we can't go back
Snacky?
in until we reopen. Carrie, well, you have to make an exception. I need help now.
Here you go.
Me, like I said, I can't without. Oh, shut up. She shocked me. I typically can deal with an angry customer, But once things get physical, I try
Now
to
come
end
be
things
with
as
mommy.
soon as possible. I give a smile down at the lady and
Sit
nod.
with mommy.
Me.
It's
You're
my
right.
boys.
I'm sorry. I'll be right back with my tablet. Just give me a few minutes. You better hurry. I gave her my fake phone number, which is just a hotline that plays All Star by Smash Mouth. After that, I left with my
Hey,
things
that's
and
not
went
for
home.
you.
I haven't
is
seen
not for
Carrie
Bobby.
since our exchange from about a
It's
week
not
ago.
for you.
My friend messaged me saying she was kicked out of Walmart a
Your
few minutes
bubble.
later, apparently for trying to steal some Celltown gift cards. Leads me to think that she did normally pay about $30, but was trying to get it taken off for the month. But oh well, at least I haven't had to deal with her since. Which cell company do you use? Please let me know. Next we've got Dramatic Idiot thinks he ate something toxic. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Last month I started working at a store that caters to rural farmers. In the store, we have everything from feed for livestock to candy and clothing. It truly has a little bit of everything. I'm not rural myself, but I quite dig it. I say this because I see now that we get all types of customers. Sure, we mostly get people that have acres of land and livestock that need tending. We also get families coming in for pet food and clothing. There's no one that can't find anything at our store. Oh, and we give free popcorn to all of our customers. This
Hold up, I've
detail
been to a
will be
store like
important
that.
for this story. One day I'm talking to a coworker about how his day is going and stuff. You know, just BSing and stuff. That's when a customer on his cell phone comes over in a huff and asks,
no.
"Where are the restrooms?" Not an uncommon question. They're in the back of the store and not clearly labeled, so we get that a lot. My coworker explains from where we're standing. If you head straight back, they're behind the car batteries. Pretty simple and effective explanation. Not for this guy. He shouts, "I don't know where that is." I step in and say,
Soul,
"Sir,
you
let
really
me
have
show
to get
you."
out.
I walk the man straight
We'll
back
let the bubbles
behind
out,
the
she's a
car
little
batteries
brat.
and lead him there. He says, "Thank you," and moves on. Or so I thought. As I walk around the store helping customers, I see this man at our service desk talking to one of the managers. I don't think too much of it, so I keep going about my business. I come back to the desk, and I see our store manager, head honcho, dealing with him as well. So immediately, I can see this guy is probably being just as high maintenance with them as he was with us about the restrooms. The store slows down, and I get curious. I meander around the service desk, so I can kind of eavesdrop. What I gathered is this. The man was walking around with his bag of free popcorn. He picked up a chemical pond cleaner that uses a blue dye. He got some of the dye on his hands, didn't notice somehow, and continued to eat the popcorn. Once he noticed the dye on his hands, that's when he promptly began to freak out about anything and everything. Apparently, when we caught him on his way to the restroom, he was going to the facilities to induce vomiting, to excise whatever he thinks he ingested. Then he went to the front and began to raise heck. He had our managers on the phone with local health officials, our SDS team that handles our chemical incidents, and the manufacturer of the pond cleaner. He had our managers running the gauntlet for him. The man had his phone out taking pictures of everything. The department manager he was working with said to him, "Make sure you get a picture of the bottle and where it says non-toxic." I didn't see his response, but I'm sure he was less than pleased with that remark. The situation escalated even further when he walked away from the service desk with our store manager following him close behind. The man shouted to the entire store, "This man threatened me. He made a threat to my well-being." Now, my store manager is a big teddy bear of a guy, southern gentleman, doesn't have a malicious bone in his body, so we could all smell the drama and deceit coming off of this guy. After shouting that my store manager threatened him, the man finds me, looks at me, points at me directly, and says, "Sir, you were there and helped me find the restroom. Did you see any chemical on my hands?" I shook my head and answered honestly, "Sir, I'll be honest. I wasn't looking or paying attention to your hands, so I can't say for certain what was on your hands." He went back to his phone call and walked away to another part of the store. That's when we all saw emergency services and EMTs enter the building with equipment to take someone out on a gurney. I couldn't believe it reached this point. The man was being overdramatic and completely irrational. That's when I walked away from the situation. The drama seemed to die down entirely, So I made my way to another side of the store where we have boots and shoes. One of my coworkers stopped me and said, "Hey man, if you have a weak stomach, I wouldn't walk over there." I was confused. I asked, "What's over there?" "Is it puke?" I asked.
Dude, Brett, don't get me started on the fucking name Kraken. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
Walked away before I could pry.
Oh, I hate it.
As it turns out, while this man was causing a commotion because he may have consumed a little bit of a non-toxic blue dye, there was another customer on the other side of the store that had a seizure, causing him to fall and hit his head on a set of shelves. That's why the EMTs and emergency vehicles arrived at our store. Not for some pompous drama that didn't need to happen. All I could think after that is I hope this guy felt like a royal jerk for making all this fuss over some nonsense, while another human being that truly needed medical attention was lying in distress, not even 50 feet away from him. Next we've got insurance company didn't approve tests requested by my doctor. Ends up losing my company. The company I work for provides free insurance for all employees. I've been working in my company as a finance manager for 13 years, and the company has been dealing with a famous insurance company for the last 10 years, providing insurance policies for employees. In the span of 10 years, I think I must have used my insurance 3 times. I'm a young man, healthy and athletic, and didn't really face any health problems. That all changed a couple of months ago when I suddenly gained too much weight, and I started having some breathing difficulties. So I went to my doctor who, after the checkup, asked me to do a normal blood test, a cholesterol test, and a vitamin D test. No problem, my insurance will take care of that. Or at least that's what I thought. When I submitted the application for approval, they approved the blood test only. I was furious. I went ahead and did all the tests and paid for the ones that the insurance didn't approve. After that incident, I called the broker, who, by the way, I personally know, and told him what happened. He started making up excuses and defending the insurance company. At the end of our conversation, I told him one thing. Make sure to tell them that this mistake will cost them a lot. My company will not renew the contract with them. He started laughing and replied, "It's not up to you to decide if the contract will be renewed or not." I told him, "Oh yes it is." What they didn't know is that my company asked me a couple of days earlier, since I'm the finance guy, to try to find another insurance provider that will give us the same benefits for less, or to get a better deal from the same provider. At first, I really didn't want to find another provider, since we've been dealing with that company for 10 years. I thought I would be able to get a better price from them. It all changed that Friday afternoon. After the weekend, I started searching for another insurance provider.
Like how he didn't do good research in the fucking first place. Got a shit place. Didn't let anyone else get good insurance coverage for 10 years, and then when he has trouble with it, then he does something about it.
I was ecstatic. During the next board meeting, I made a presentation for the shareholders. They were happy that this will save them a lot of money. I'm not going to give exact figures, but the contract itself is in the order of hundreds of thousands of dollars. After all was agreed, and when the renewal date came, you should have seen the look on the old insurance provider's face when they became aware of what happened. They asked for a meeting in our office, and they offered to give us a 25% discount for us to stay with them. I declined the offer with a smile on my face, and said this would be impossible now, because the new contract was signed already. Karen Jr. versus T-Mobile. About 15 years ago, I was the acting manager for a mobile phone shop in the UK. It was a third-party retailer that sold all networks, but has since been bought out and no longer exists. This girl, around 12 to 14, came in and asked about a cheap prepaid phone that we stocked. Can't remember which one, but it was the cheapest one we had, like £30. We had some in stock, so I started going through its details when she said she needed it on the O2 network. We only stocked that particular phone on T-Mobile, so I told her no and started suggesting some O2 phones we had that were almost as cheap. The following is not verbatim, but as close as I can remember. Cast. We've got her, we've got me. Her. But this phone is dual band. Me. Yes. So, does that mean it can take 2 SIM cards? No. What? That means it uses 2 frequency bands. All phones sold in Europe, most of Africa, and Asia are at least dual band. Prepaid phones are heavily discontinued by the networks, so they're locked to only working with their own SIMs. Her. No, my friend said it means it can take 2 cards. Me. Sorry, but that's not what it means. If you put your O2 SIM in that, it won't work. You can get it unlocked, but it voids the warranty and usually causes problems, so I don't recommend it. But my friend said it will work. Is this a school friend? Yes. Okay, well, I work in a phone shop. I think it's safe to say I know more about phones than your friend does. I promise you, if you put a non-T-Mobile SIM card in that phone, it will not work. I tell her that she could port her number across, or get the cheapest O2 prepaid one we had for about 50 pounds. Her. Okay, don't worry about it then. She turns and leaves, and I never see her again.
Of course.
Sadly, no. About an hour later, she comes back and says she wants to purchase that T-Mobile phone. Me. Okay, so you know this won't work on O2? Yeah, sure. Okay, just so you know, all T-Mobile products are not included in our 14-day change of mind policy. Yeah, fine. So, once you bought it, there's no refund. Yeah, fine. Okay then. I sell the phone, and then she leaves forever? Wouldn't it be interesting if she did? Would it? Another hour goes by, and she comes back. There's something wrong with my phone. It's not working. Oh, really? I usually ask for symptoms, etc. at that point, but I already knew what the issue was. Have you guessed what it is? I took the back and battery off, and lo and behold, nestled in the SIM card slot was an old, battered O2 SIM card. Me. Well, there's your problem. You put your old SIM card in there, not the T-Mobile one that came with it. I swapped the cards over, reassembled it, and showed her it working. Her. But I don't want it on T-Mobile. Me. It only comes on T-Mobile. I did tell you this earlier. Fine. I'll have my money back then. No, you won't. What? I did tell you that there's no change of mind on this before I sold it to you. But I don't want it. Sorry. Can't help you. Is there a manager I can talk to? I am the manager. You can call T-Mobile and port your number, or get it unlocked. But again, I don't recommend that. Her. But...
Oh my god, you're right!
Fine.
It is the same number as my
Grabs her
age.
stuff and
It's so
leaves
funny.
for the last time. Now I could have refunded this for her, using the manager's override, as the point of sale typically wouldn't give a refund option for T-Mobile. But this got flagged to the area manager, and I'd have to justify it later. Frankly, I didn't want to, and I felt like I had given her more than enough warning. If you were in this position, would you have given her a refund, or would you have told her to buzz off like OP did? You know what to do. Go ahead and leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, entitled Mom ruined my birthday dinner with my boyfriend. So a little bit of backstory. Around 6 months ago, I met my boyfriend.
I like
and we moved
potatoes too.
together to his apartment shortly after. Our relationships are the best thing.
Also,
that
you
happened to
guys are
both
talking
of
about
us.
hockey,
We
but
are
like
beyond happy
I'm not a
together.
hockey
He met my
fan.
parents not so long ago, and it went
I have
very well.
A friend who
But
plays
then
hockey,
it was time
but
to meet his mother.
I've never
He
really
was
been super
always
into
telling me
hockey.
stories
I don't know.
about what a horrible person she is. And
I like
that her
ice skating,
own mother,
though.
My
I love
boyfriend's
ice skating.
grandmother has no clue
Oh, wait.
how my boyfriend lived
It's not
with her
ice
for so
hockey,
long.
it's just normal
We were
hockey. I
invited to her
forgot.
birthday party, and it went pretty okay.
Ice hockey's
but
more
I
fun.
felt what he was talking about. She was pretending to be very
I like
nice,
ice hockey
and
better.
it was obviously fake. But anyway, on to the actual story. A month ago, it was my birthday. I was turning 20, but I didn't want a big celebration or a party. So we thought that me and my boyfriend will prepare a small dinner for 2 and have our romantic time. So we did. In the middle of the cooking process, my boyfriend's phone rings. It's entitled Mom, and she's saying that she's behind the door. We just stood there in shock, in complete silence for a good 10 seconds before she yelled, "Hello!" And my boyfriend said that he would open it in a minute. I was like, what the heck is she doing here? But I thought this would be fine. She didn't tell us that she is coming, so maybe she wouldn't stay for that long. So my boyfriend invites her to the kitchen, where I am cooking some pasta with seafood, and she immediately started to congratulate me and her "I am so nice" kind of vibe. And she hands me 2 bottles of champagne. Really cheap ones, but okay, not gonna judge. Then she takes a seat, and the dialogue goes like this. So, what are you cooking? Me. Pasta with seafood. Oh, I don't like those. My stomach aches after seafood. Did you prepare something else for me? At this point, me and my boyfriend are looking at each other in disbelief. Boyfriend, are you planning to stay for a long time? Entitled mom. Of course! I came to congratulate OP on her birthday and have a drink. Well, we weren't that happy about it, but I decided to brush it off and let her be, because we still had a night for us. So I made her the same pasta as we were eating, but without seafood.
Girl.
Luckily, she was happy with it.
Girl.
So the casual conversation goes, she mainly is talking to my boyfriend because I am browsing through my phone. We thought we could look through some websites at dinner together because we decided to adopt a dog. So I was doing that, and then I showed one of the dogs to my boyfriend. Entitled Mom's eyes got wide, and she almost screamed. Are you going to adopt a dog? Me. Yes? Why? She shrugged and looked at boyfriend. I thought you hated animals. Son, you never liked our dog and cat. Why do you suddenly change your mind? Side note, her dog is a nightmare. Not trained at all. Barking uncontrollably at everyone. Bad behavior, etc. Cat, on the other hand, is very sweet and cuddly. Boyfriend. What do you mean? Since when do I hate animals? Also, it's your dog. And you said you would never give me my cat when I was moving out. Entitled Mom. Because I thought you hated her. It was silent during the discussion, and we changed the subject after this.
Kick this bitch
Then
out.
she said she wanted to buy the country house and move there. Boyfriend started to explain that it's not that easy, and she needs a lot of money. Besides, she has a perfectly fine flat, which is not that
football
close
is
to the
boring
city center,
too.
and it should be fine. Entitled Mom. God, I know that it's a lot of money, which is
I like
why
soccer.
I thought you can sell your flat and move to mine.
Or
So I
football.
can buy a house. Yours is bigger and nicer. You don't need that much space. Boyfriend. Obviously, we need that much
Sports
space.
that I like.
We have
Soccer
2 cats and we'll have a dog
/
soon.
football, wherever
I
the fuck you're from.
absolutely will not sell my flat.
Baseball.
Mom looked at me,
Baseball's a good one.
hiding a finger
Tennis.
inside.
Cheer.
We'll talk about it later. The rest of the dinner was fine,
Gymnastics.
except for the fact that she drank almost all of the champagne
skating.
that she brought, and constantly bragged about animals. She left pretty late, and our mood was ruined for the rest of the night. Yesterday, she called my boyfriend, and they talked
Yeah,
for a
that's
good
pretty
half an hour. I was working in the other room in front of my computer. I heard screaming and loud
Oh,
arguing.
wrestling's good too.
My boyfriend
Or
is
like
absolutely
MMA and shit.
not the type of person who gets angry or upset easily.
Or any
This
martial
woman
arts.
has a
It's
superpower
super
to do
cool
that.
looking.
So after my boyfriend hung up on her, he was fuming and
Trick kicking is really
He told
fun.
me
I
that
like
she was
those.
talking crap about me, that I am changing him in a bad way, that he is not the son she raised. Very funny. She also said that I am the worst girlfriend that she can ever imagine, that I am manipulative and stupid. And then when
Ironic.
she said he doesn't need so much space, she meant he should dump me, and I would move out with all my animals. I was furious. We agreed that it's none of her business what we are doing with our lives, and we decided not to talk with her at all.
Good.
Next we've got no air conditioning, enjoy the fines. Back in 1993, I had just graduated from college. Since there weren't any jobs anywhere near my hometown, I moved to the Dallas area. I had a small bit of money left from college, but I knew it would.
By the way, if you're wondering how to get like really tough knots out of wigs, the easiest method is to try to split it open and then just like pull at it.
That was no
Like,
longer the case.
Hook your finger and just like kind of pull at it. It'll come apart eventually.
Either being unemployed, like me, or doing some sort of menial job. The actual apartment was not really an apartment. The original design for the complex had mainly 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartments. At some point, they took the master bedroom, one of the bathrooms, and one of the closets, and made that into a separate apartment. They called it an efficiency. I'm sure some
I'm
of
gonna
you
be
are
so
reading
happy
that
when I
and
get this
trying to
fucking room
figure
back,
out
guys.
where the kitchen was located. Short answer,
My god.
it wasn't. The kitchen was the
Going to be
closet.
so
It had been a small
satisfying.
walk-in closet. They put an actual apartment-sized refrigerator in it with a microwave on top of it. That was the kitchen. I didn't particularly like it, but I was broke. What could I do? I was looking for jobs for a few months and having no luck. I spent much of my time in that little apartment. The trouble came in March. It started getting really hot. By mid-April, I felt like I was cooking during the day. My apartment had air conditioning, but it was blowing nothing but hot air. I went to the manager to complain. I was told that they didn't turn on the compressor until June. No way I would be able to make it until June. I had to do something. I found a way to keep cool. One of the few places with working air conditioning that didn't mind me loitering was the public library. We were actually close to a huge branch.
Library's good for that
I
shit.
could grab a book
Love
and just
loitering
sit
at the
there for
library.
hours. But it was still stifling when I went home. Since I was at the library anyway, I started doing research on apartment regulations. It wasn't too difficult. Heck, I had essentially done the same thing for years as a full-time student. It was just research. The housing codes were located in a row of large books back before the internet. I had nothing better to do, so I started going through them. After a few days, I found some things that I thought might help and called the housing authority. They came right over to my apartment the next day, actually.
Ugh, make me cough with all the
If the temperature
fucking
with
hair
the
flying
apartment
all
was
over.
above a certain level, air conditioning had to be available. I think it was 80 degrees, but it was 83 degrees in my apartment when they showed up. Infraction 2. All apartments, regardless of size, had to have a working stove. Remember, I only had a microwave, which was not considered a stove. Infraction 3.
Really?
All
Microwaves
apartments,
aren't
regardless
considered
of size,
stoves?
had to have a working sink in the kitchen. Again, remember, I didn't have a sink in the kitchen. I had to wash what few dishes I had in the bathtub. The housing authority
Oh my god,
said they'd
stop.
take care of it and left.
That reminds me of the place I lived at
I got a notice from the
a few years
apartment
ago.
that they were going to put in a stove and sink.
Ugh,
Best of all,
struggle,
the AC
bro.
started getting cool. It didn't end there though.
Big
I was
city
there when the
strugs.
workers were putting in the stove and sink. I was playing some video games.
Good shit.
One of the workers
Teaches
saw
character.
it and started up a conversation since he liked video games. I found out some interesting things. First, the wiring wouldn't handle the stove, so they had to do something to get it to work. They put one hole in my apartment, and I heard them putting some more holes in the apartment next door. Don't forget, those two apartments used to be the same apartment. The fuse box was in the other apartment. Second, the flooring in the closet was carpeting. That was deemed unsafe to put a stove on, so they had to tear it out, just in the closet, and put down some type of tile. Third, the closet did not have any place to attach the sink, so they had to go through the wall again to get to the bathroom to connect the plumbing in there. I'm unsure how that worked, since directly on the other side of the wall was the bathtub. There was no exposed plumbing there. All told, these changes cost about $10,000,
Piece of
including
glitter.
parts and labor. I'm going by what I was told. I have no direct knowledge, and the guy giving me this information was one of the regular workers and not any sort of management. But I did find out one other thing. It wasn't just my apartment. It was all of the efficiency apartments, all 20 of them. If the numbers that I was given can be believed, that would be approximately $200,000. All because it was hot.
Aw, thank
And
you,
I
dickhead.
forgot this part.
Here, let me.
I got a notice from
I
the
will
housing
do it
authority
after
a
I'm
few
finished
weeks after
brushing
they
this
finished
part out, because this
updating
is the last
apartment.
bit of this
They
I have to
noticed
brush
mentioned
out.
fines being levied. I don't have
And then,
any
yeah, good
additional
call.
information on the number or amount of the fines, but based on what I've heard about the housing authority in later years, it was probably substantial. Edit again. In response to one of the comments, I was curious and went to look up this old apartment. In '93, when I was there, the apartment was $485 per month. Now it's $615 per month, so it's still incredibly cheap for the area. They've upgraded it a bit. Now the kitchen, closet, has countertops and cabinets. There's a closet right off of the living area. There's even a blurb on the website that says, all of our available homes come standard with air conditioning, fully equipped kitchens, ceiling fans, and carpeted living spaces. Of course, they don't say they were forced to add some of this stuff. Also, I was taken back by the size. The apartment is 274 square feet. I remember it being a tiny apartment, but I had forgotten how tiny.
Wow.
Next
that was
we've got
tiny.
Karen and her spa.
Sounds like
in a
New
pet
York.
store. This happened not too long ago when me and my friend, Elle, went to go get some dog food for the many, many dogs he and his boyfriend have. Elle has 3 Akitas, and his boyfriend has 5 Burmese mountain dogs
Ooh.
and a black and tan Pomeranian.
Oh my
As you
god,
can
that's
tell,
a lot.
they love dogs. He got me to come along because he was buying a lot of dog food, and he needed help carrying all of the bags. Plus, boyfriend can't go with him right now because his right leg is in a leg brace, and his middle, ring, and pinky finger on his right hand are still healing from when he broke them. Cast, We've got Karen's kid, who was around 12. We've got the employee. We've got Cop 1 and Cop 2.
Oh, cops are
Me and
involved.
Elle were walking around trying to find the dog food he wanted. It's not a big store, but whoever designed it made it into a maze. Elle had his dogs with him in the back of the car, but he brought one of them into the store because she was begging and barking to come out. Her name is Lily, so we let her come with us, but I was the one walking her. I noticed there was only 2 other people in the store, Karen and her kid. We grabbed around 6 of these big bags of dog food, and we were walking over to the cash register. I put the bags of food I was holding on the counter and went over to play with the bird. It's a sulfur-crested bird, and it's extremely super friendly, so the employees let people play with it. Karen's kid. Excuse me. I turn around, and there was Karen's kid, standing there with a big smile on his face. Me. What's up? Entitled kid. Can I pet your dog? Me. It's not my dog, but I'll ask my friend if it's okay. Elle, can this kid pet your dog? Sure, I don't mind. Entitled kid begins to pet her, and I'm still playing with the bird when Karen comes over. Karen. Oh, your dog is so cute. Me. It's my friend's dog, not mine. I pointed towards Elle at the cash register. He didn't notice me talking because he was talking with the cashier. Entitled kid. Mom, can I have the dog?
Okay.
Friend and I looked at each other
Honey.
and made direct eye contact when we heard the kid say this. It's not our first time dealing with Karens and their entitled brats. I put the bird back in its cage and walked up to Elle with Lily.
Okay.
Karen turns to friend. How much for the dog? Friend. OP, I need help carrying these. I grabbed the dog food I was carrying before. Karen, are you going to answer me? Friend.
It's not for sale.
Karen's kid. Mom, I want the dog. Don't worry, you'll have the dog in a second. We began to walk over towards the door, but before we could get out of the store, Karen blocked the doorway. She looked ticked off at us. I said,
Alright, I should do that
how much for
one
the
stretch.
dog? And I said she's not for sale. Now please leave us alone.
It's like,
No, I want that dog. This is when the cashier, employee, came into the argument. Employee. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to let them leave the store. No, I'm buying that dog. Friend. No, you're not.
oh, it feels so good. Fuck.
If you don't leave them alone and leave the store, I will call the police. Kid. Mom, I want the dog. Give me the dog. Give me the dog right now. Friend, if you don't move out of our way right now, I will make you.
Give me the
Is that
dog.
correct? No, it's a
Fuck,
promise.
I'm gonna
I'm
have.
not letting you out of this store until you give my son the dog.
I'm gonna
She then
eat.
swung at Elle. And at this point, I
I
was
have a
wondering if she
nibble.
was insane. Because Elle is 6'5" and 250 pounds of pure muscle, and she was around 5'7".
Okay, we're gonna do an apple.
160 pounds. Elle dropped one of the bags he was carrying.
They're a
and
little
grabbed her
sour.
hand
Hopefully, I
before
can do
she
it.
did. Entitled kid had run off at this point in time. He was probably harassing some of the rabbits or guinea pigs or something of the sort. Elle, I said get out of our way. No, not until you... She was cut off when Elle dropped the other bag of dog food he was holding onto the ground and picked her up off the ground by the back of her shirt. He then walked out of the doorway and back into the store. Put me down, right now! Elle, OP, can you go put the dog food in the trunk of the car?
Shower.
Me, half laughing. Yeah, I'll go do that. I then went and took the dog food that I was carrying and put it in the trunk. I went back and did the same for the dog food Elle was carrying, and also put Lily in the car with the other Akitas. All the while, Karen was screeching like a banshee, and the employee was astonished by what was happening. Me. Okay, I'm done. Elle then let go of Karen, and she fell onto the floor.
Fuck, I forgot how sour those are.
When Karen yells this, I'm calling the police. Elle turned around and heard this, and I'll make sure to tell them the real story. And so will OP and employee.
This is
They'll
not a
tell them the
Khaleesi
same
wig.
story I
It's
did.
just
So who are they
a
going
random
to be?
white wig.
An
It's not for any
entitled jerk and a
character
little spawn?
in
Or the guy who
particular.
was nearly punched? They won't believe you because you assaulted me. Employee. Actually, I already called the police. They're in the parking lot right now. We all looked over, and sure enough, there's a police car in the parking lot. And 2
Lol.
cops walking towards the store. They walked in. Cop 2 went over to employee for questioning, and Cop 1 came over to question us. And
I like
that's
sour
when
stuff
Karen
too,
went to the full victim
but
mode.
this one's like a
Thank God
warhead.
you're here. This man was trying to hurt me. Cop 1.
Yeah,
No, he
blah, blah.
wasn't. Yes, he was.
Like, oh my god. It's
When
really
me and
good
my
though.
partner got out of the car,
It's
we
good
heard
apple
everything
flavor.
You said. That is when Karen went pale. Cop 2 called out to Cop 1, so we looked over at him, and so did the rest of us. What is it?
Okay, I'm gonna
Cop
get
2.
this.
Employee
Heat it
said she has
up.
a video footage of the incident. And with that, Karen went even paler than before. We all watched the footage, and we all turned to Karen. Cop 1 talking to L. Would you like to press charges? L. Absolutely. Cop 1. Ma'am, please turn around. I'm
Love
going
when
to
they
have
press
to cuff
charges.
you. No, he assaulted me first. Cop 2. Ma'am, turn around now. Karen then tries to run out of the door without her kid. They ran her down and
No, without the
arrested her,
kid.
and called the kid's dad to come get her. She was charged, and I don't know if she got prison time. After all of that, me and Elle thanked the employee for calling the
I mean,
police.
she tried to
and
abandon
went
her
back to his
child.
place to
So.
play video games. The rest of the day went pretty good. Entitled mom tried to force me to spend $50 on her kid. I was at a Walmart, just looking to buy some small items real quick for an upcoming event. Plates, napkins, that sort of stuff. I go to check out when I notice a lady behind me. I don't say anything, but I can clearly see her digging through her purse with
I'm
her
gonna
left
actually
hand.
test it
I
this time.
ignore it and keep waiting until it's my turn. Entitled mom. Excuse me? Me. Unsure who she's talking to, so I ignore it. Entitled mom.
Okay.
Excuse me? Me. Turning my head around. May I help you? Entitled mom.
Oh, hot
Can
little
I go in
hot.
front of you? I only have 2 items. I checked, and sure enough, she only had 2 items. Me. Sure, I guess. The lady casually walks past me as I attempt to awkwardly back up to give her space. I'm minding my own business, spacing out, when I notice I'm almost at the front of the line. Cashier. That'll be X amount of dollars. Entitled mom viciously digs around her purse. I only have this much. Hands over a couple dollars short by the looks of it. Cashier. I'm sorry, ma'am, but this isn't enough for your items. Oh, no. I promised my son I'd get him this toy. Now, I don't know if anyone else would do this, but as soon as she said that, I instantly spoke. Me. I can pay the rest. Entitled mom. Really?
That's definitely what her goal is.
To? Yes, she actually said it like that. Me. No worries, I'm sure your kid deserves it. Entitled mom, looking down at the items. Can I swap this toy out for another? Me. Sure. Entitled mom bolts off towards the other side of the store. I begin putting my stuff on the conveyor belt.
So
I
dumb.
finish up and pay, which is exactly when Entitled mom returns. She puts the new toy on the conveyor belt, along with her other item. The cashier begins scanning, and I patiently wait at the end. Cashier. That'll be insert stupidly high price for her 2 items. Me. Wait, what cost that much? Cashier. Well, you see, sir, the toy costs $50, and this costs $5. Me. The toy costs $50? Gazing at the entitled mom. You said you would pay for it. I meant if it was just a few dollars, not 50. You promised.
Bitch.
First of all,
Hell
no,
no.
I didn't. Secondly, who tries to ask a stranger for help and then proceeds to get something expensive?
A scammer.
I don't have that much cash on me. But you said you would pay for me. Me. If it was a reasonable price. Are you paying or not?
No.
No. Not if it's that expensive. Entitled mom proceeds to shout at me. After I tune her out, she huffs and leaves the store without her stuff. I leave about 2 minutes after to be safe. The nerve of some people. Edit. I've noticed how many of you have been saying I should have never offered to pay. The only reason I offered to pay was because it was the cousin of one of my friends who I had met at a get-together. I never spoke to her.
So you
Either
agree
way,
with her?
be careful out there. Would you ever offer
Yeah, that's
to pay if
different.
you were in
You
a
should have given that
situation like this?
context, bro.
I'd really love to hear from you. Next week, got my branch manager fired and got 4 guys promotions. I worked as a security guard for a standard security company, but we were contracted with a petrochemical company to do security at their world headquarters. The company is a Fortune 500 company making billions a year. Therefore, the account we had meant that we did security for all of their locations inside the US, while other companies handled sites outside the US. This account was worth around $30 million per year. I joined the company in March, and things seemed great. My shift was very workable, 10:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday. I spent most of my day doing paperwork and signing in other contractors and delivery drivers. Honestly, it felt like a pretty decent job. It didn't pay very well, but you can't complain when you sit on your butt all day. However, soon we began having a staffing problem. People were leaving and getting fired way too quickly. We were supposed to have around 15 guards, but we got as low as 9. This did not include the 3 veteran guards employed by the client company, as they were separate from us. This is very important later. This caused horrible schedules. In a 26-hour period, I worked 20 hours, which I later found out is illegal in our state. And we would easily
I think it's illegal in all states.
Weeks. Every single guard was working overtime. It caused havoc with our personal lives. My girlfriend even told me she was thinking about leaving me because out of the entire week, I would see her maybe an hour a day before I fell asleep. And we lived together. So obviously, some compensation was required. Overtime was decent pay, yes, but we wanted an overall raise. We got paid way too little to be working 70-hour weeks, 12 to 16-hour shifts, etc. Each facility has a supervisor through the contractor company, and each set of facilities has a branch manager who supervises specific accounts for the regional manager. While the branch manager was supposed to visit each facility once a month, there are 3 facilities in his area on the account. I saw him twice in my 1-year period with the company. Apparently, the client company had a lot of pull in the state, so the security company was basically their lapdog, and they tried to keep their distance as much as legally allowed. The issue started when one of the guards, we'll call him Roy, started talking about how his friend who worked at the sister site and all of his fellow guards all got raises because they were short-staffed, and the company wanted to thank them for pulling extra hours. This got a lot of guards furious. We were much worse off with our staff, and we worked at the world headquarters, and none of us had even been suggested raises. This led to the guards being particularly unmotivated and led to people refusing to pick up shifts.
Do you guys remember how bad it was?
Decided to call the BM and complain, asking why the sister site would get raises and why we would not. Apparently, it was more of a rant than an actual conversation, but at the end of it, the branch manager promised he would look at getting our raises and that he would speak with the regional manager to get the raises going. When word of this reached the facility, it was one of the only things everyone could talk about. We would talk about how excited everyone was to get raises, and the branch manager had also promised that we would be getting new guards to help out. So no more 60-plus hour work weeks. Everything was happy in our world for about 48 hours. When I get to work early on Thursday, I see an email addressed to all the security guards, and our branch manager is CC'd in it. He never gets copied in emails. The email said this: "Hello. As you are all aware of, all the rumors that have been brought to my attention have been addressed. I would like to take this time and remind everyone not to engage in this activity again. Moving forward, bring all concerns to the attention of your immediate supervisor so they may be addressed. Spreading rumors and causing panic will be looked at as creating an uncomfortable/hostile work environment. Disciplinary action will be taken. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns about this matter. Also, make sure that your attention while on site is on our purpose. We should all be focused on the objective of providing the client with outstanding service." We were mad. Basically, we were being told that we weren't getting raises, and the branch manager claimed that the sister site getting raises was nothing but a rumor. Roy was berated for supposedly causing a panic, and since senior guard was the one that went over the supervisor and straight to the branch manager, he was being told his job was potentially on the line. Everyone was absolutely appalled, and one of the older guards quit on the spot. The company had basically flat out lied and made promises they had no intention of keeping, and we legally couldn't prove anything. And thus the revenge starts. We had the phone numbers to the sister site in the directory, but didn't know who the supervisor was over there. I asked Roy who his friend was that had worked there, and if I could get into contact with them. Unfortunately, he had quit and joined the Air Force just days prior. At this point, I felt stuck, but I didn't want anyone to be done over by a company just because we were the little people. So I stuck my neck out, and using the phone in my office, I called the client of the sister site. The operator picks up, and I explained that I'm a guard at the headquarters and needed to speak with the supervisor of their site. The operator gladly puts me through. Frank answers the phone, and I explain who I am and why I am calling. I don't BS with him, and just flat out ask the big question. Did their site get raises? They did, and then some. Turns out, not only did all their guards get raises, including himself, but they also received bonus checks for their hard work. I could barely speak. I couldn't tell if I was furious at how we had been treated, or how thankful I was that Roy and Senior Guard weren't lying. I asked Frank very calmly, "Can I get that in writing?" The next morning, I asked for a meetup with the branch manager, the site supervisor, the client, and the 3 guards that were willing to show up. Myself, Roy, Senior Guard, and
Soul,
a random
chill the
guard
fuck
who was
out.
willing to be present. He was in the loop most of the time.
Scratching on the door.
The branch manager is annoyed by this meeting and demands to know what is going on. Senior Guard and I explain how we are here to address how employees were lied to, and how we were being threatened because we wanted to be compensated just as much as the sister site. And on top of that, how all 4 of us would leave if this issue was not addressed. Client: "What are they talking about?" Branch manager: "We have made it clear that the rumors have been addressed, and no such promises were made. This meeting is over." Me: "Not so fast, sir. There is one other person that would like to speak with you." And in walks the knight in shining armor, Frank. We watch in amusement as all the color drains from branch manager's face. He stands there, completely still, not making a sound. Frank smiles in an almost predatory fashion as he notes the slaughter he is about to partake in. Client: "Who is this?" Frank: "I am the site supervisor for your other site. I have here documentation that not only did branch manager lie about my guards getting raises, but also a recorded phone call, being all calls from company phones are monitored, that has branch manager on record stating he was going to pursue seeking a raise for this site's guards." At this point, even I am speechless. I didn't know how he got a copy of the phone call between Senior Guard and branch manager, but he did, and was holding the transcript. The client goes from confused to angry, glaring at the branch manager. The branch manager is still standing there, white as a ghost, and now our site supervisor is staring at him in what looks like pure rage. Mostly because he took the flag for the branch manager's lies. Branch manager: "How did you..." Client: "You're right, branch manager. This meeting is over. For you. Get out of my office." The branch manager glances at myself and Senior Guard in what looks like pure defeat and mopes out of the office. Client: "Frank, let me see what you have." Frank hands over all of the evidence, and the client looks through it for about 5 minutes. He finished going over it and closes the booklet and looks over at the site supervisor. "Did you know about this?" The site supervisor explains how he was simply doing what he was told and not to ask questions. He was ex-military,
Convenient.
so that mindset was believable. After this, the client instructed all of us to go home, and we would be given money for the shifts we were supposed to work, but instructed us to come back at 7 a.m. sharp the next morning and to meet in the conference room. We all show up the next day, and we are greeted by the client and another younger lady who he explains to us is the financial manager of the whole company. The branch manager is also sitting there, but on the other side of the conference table. We sit down, and she starts off by apologizing for the behavior of the branch manager and explained how they did not like this sort of thing. However, since he was a contractor, they could not legally hold him accountable. The branch manager seemed somewhat relieved by this, and my heart admittedly sank. She said we could file reports against him, and they would confirm them, but they could not partake in any form beyond that. Then the financial manager gives the big but. She says her offer is that we can work for the client personally as in-house security and not contractors. They said they would hire all 4 of us on the spot.
Nice.
And we could start working tomorrow. This included full benefits, a huge increase in pay, over $20 an hour, and 6 weeks of vacation time a year. However, the offer only stood while we were in the room. The branch manager is fuming as he has just lost 4 guards. Of course, we all accept. She makes it clear, however, that we aren't hired until the meeting is over. Then the financial manager's attention turns to the branch manager. She explains that since 4 guards had just quit, that he was now in severe violation of the contract due to lack of staff, and that they were using the break clause to terminate the account effective immediately. The branch manager tried to argue, saying that stealing contractors with the intent of using a break clause in a contract is illegal, which it is.
Yeah.
Her response is something like this: Financial manager, you are correct, which is why these men are not currently employed by us. They left on their own accord and are unemployed. Since this is a severe violation of the contract, we will be dealing with this here and now. The branch manager is speechless at the perfectly deceptive and well-played loophole that the client company had
She's
just
obviously a
exploited,
lawyer.
and was also told if they did decide to pursue a lawsuit, they would be allowed to legally bring the evidence of the contractor company's deception and blatant lies to its
Spray
employees.
time.
The client and the financial manager spend the next 4 hours taking phone calls, and we can't leave the room. After they hang up on the phone for the last time, the client turns to the branch manager and explains calmly but firm, "Please step outside with me for a moment." He also gestures for myself and senior guard to stand up and follow them. We walk outside and the client smiles. "OP, senior guard, would you please, as my security officers, escort branch manager off-site? His company is no longer associated with us." We gladly escort him to his car. 3 years after this happened, and all 4 of us still work there. We heard from another guard that the branch manager was fired basically as soon as he got back to his company's headquarters, and Frank was offered the branch manager position. He apparently responded by handing them his resignation letter. He went to move on to another security company overseas, and last I knew, he had been in France for almost a year. Our site supervisor was moved to another facility, but still works for the company last I checked. We loved working for the client, and all 4 of us became good friends. We all work similar shifts, so every Friday after work, we all go to the bar and have a good time. We also became fairly close to the client, so he invites us over to his house for special occasions. And yes, the security director for a petrochemical company has it big. Thanks to my job, however, I was able to save my relationship, take great vacations, buy a brand new, at the time, Chevy Silverado, and buy an actual house. So, to sum things up, don't mess with the security guard. Next we've got Entitled Dad Demands a Puppy. This happened a week or 2 ago. We had these entitled parents come into the shelter with their brood of kids. When I say brood, I mean like 6 or 7. I couldn't keep count as they were running around the shelter, acting like it was a playground, and freaking the dogs out, and upsetting the staff. Entitled Mom never really said much, just kind of kept in the back on her phone. Most of the interaction here was through the Entitled Dad, the focal point of the story. So they came in looking for a high-energy dog that is also good with kids. We asked them the basic questions, one of which is if they have other animals in the house.
Yes.
This is to gauge which dogs we can show them.
I'm getting good at this,
Some
y'all.
dogs in our shelter will hurt another dog on sight, so we have to be careful. They have no other animals at home. We show them one of our young, very high-energy dogs that loves to play with people, but hasn't liked other dogs in the shelter. We inform them of the dog's history as far as we know. They like the dog and adopt him, knowing full well that he needs to be an only dog. Now, days later, we get a litter of small lab puppies turned in. As we are getting them set up in kennels, in comes Entitled Dad, Entitled Mom, and the brood of kids with the dog we adopted out to them. They want to find the dog a friend. We tell them that the dog wasn't dog-friendly when he was here, and we reminded them we recommended he be an only dog. They want another dog, and the one they want just so happens to be one of the small lab puppies. At this point, the staff is looking at each other shocked, because we know that this puppy would get hurt if the older dog just decided to grab it by the head and shake it. We try to tell them that the puppy is way too small and wouldn't be able to defend itself if it was attacked. Entitled Dad scoffs, and says that the older dog loves other dogs and plays with his neighbor's small dogs all the time.
Oh, God.
We tell entitled dad that while that may be, we cannot, in good conscience, adopt the puppy to them because of the older dog showing signs of aggression towards other dogs in the shelter. Now, at this point, entitled dad is throwing a tantrum. He's demanding the puppy, and we simply tell him no and repeat our reasons why. It's at this point, entitled dad says he wants to surrender the older dog and adopt the puppy then. We all look at him like the jerk that he is and tell him we are not going to do that. He storms outside with entitled mom and the brood, and entitled dad and entitled mom are arguing in the front yard of our shelter when a young couple walks by. The guy says something to entitled dad and points at the dog, and entitled dad says something back, and the guy shakes his hand and walks into our front office and tells us that entitled dad just tried to give the older dog away to them. We are beyond furious by now, and when entitled dad storms back in with the dog, he demands to surrender the dog. We say fine, and we take the dog back and set him up in a kennel, and then entitled dad demands to adopt the puppy.
No.
We once again tell him no, and entitled dad freaks out, demanding the older dog back while having a complete tantrum meltdown in our office. Because he didn't fill out the surrender paperwork, sadly, we had to give the older dog back, because legally it was still his property. He storms back out of the office, and entitled dad and the brood leave with the older dog. It doesn't end there. The very next day, entitled dad comes back with the older dog by himself, and once again demands to surrender the dog. Now, it's apparently because the dog bit one of his kids, and entitled dad rants about suing us. But we remind him that when we adopted the dog, it became his property and his responsibility. After we make sure he signs the dog over, he again demands the puppy. We tell him no again, and here's the big kicker. That morning, we got calls from his neighbors reporting him for leaving the dog locked in an outside cage night after night since entitled dad has had the older dog.
People should have to, like, have their shit investigated before they're allowed to just adopt a dog.
That week. We inform entitled dad that not only was he not getting the puppy, he wasn't getting the older dog back either. And now, he and his family were on a do not adopt blacklist for the state and wouldn't be adopting anything from anywhere from now on.
Good.
Entitled dad just sits there in silence.
Aw, thank you, dickhead. Yay! 9
I've never
months!
seen someone so bent on getting out of here. Next we've got Karen demands I shop for her. Backstory. This happened a few hours ago. I was out with my mom for the afternoon. She has an arm injury from an accident, and I often help her out when I can. Today I wore a Selena shirt and black leggings. The Walmart employees wore a store polo with the logo on it and khaki pants or shorts. So yeah, I wore nothing like the actual employees, and I am not a personal shopper. This happened right after we had ate a late lunch at a semi-nice restaurant. After we ate, we decided to head over to Walmart to get a couple of items. Like I said, my mom has an arm injury from an accident, and I was in the store with her helping her reach for items that she couldn't reach.
I'm gonna let the
We're in the
person
store
hold
for
up.
a few moments. My mom sends me off to find some soda. I go into the soda part of the store, and I'm reaching for the soda when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I grab the soda and turn around thinking I'm in someone's way. And well, I kind of was. The lady, not really a Karen, pointed to the coat. Her arms were pretty full. Why she didn't have a card was beyond me.
Whatever.
Karen, can you please
No
get
floppy
that
gun.
Coke for me? Me, being
Floppy can
polite.
come in on his own
Yeah,
if he
sure.
wants to.
Your arms look pretty full. Do you need a card? I was kind of hoping you could help me. I saw you help that woman. Me.
Dude, how many
that's
stories
my
like
mom.
this are there?
I came in to help her. She has an arm injury, and I was just helping her get a few things before I go home myself. Karen, but you helped her. I just gave her a look like, what are you
Yes,
talking
that's
about?
my mother.
Me? I mean, yeah, she's my mom. I kind of have to help her. So, you're a personal shopper for her? Me, laughing at that statement. Since it was kind of true, I often stop and get things for my mom, since my mom doesn't drive and my dad works late,
What
and
kind
I
of
live nearby.
mother is she not understanding?
Well, you got that part right. I'm sorry I can't help you right now. I have to get back to my mom. Well, get the rest of the items from my list. I shake my head. Me. Ma'am, I don't know how to tell you this, but I have to get back to my mom. I leave quickly, and I get back to my mother, and I tell her about the wild Karen encounter. My mom said I did the best I could, so we get to checkout, and behold, Karen is behind us. She proceeds to tap my mother on the shoulder. My mother turns around and sees the Karen I was talking about. Karen. Hi. Yes. Does she work for you? Mom. Yes.
Does she not know the
22
word
years. We
mother?
have this ongoing joke that I was the maid of the family. Karen looks at me again. It was like she was trying to process what my mom said. But she can't be that old. Mom. Nope. She's been 22. Been 22 since May. She's also my daughter, and we just stopped here to get a few things. Karen. But she helped me. Mom. Well, that's how I raised her. I'm happy she helped you, but we really need to get going. We check out and wave to the Karen, still looking very confused. Karen takes my credit card and gets upset when caught. Backstory. My husband and I have now been married for almost 18 years. My mother-in-law is
That
the
is
most
so weird.
entitled, choosing beggar I've ever known. I have many stories, so if y'all like this one, I will add more. First time posting, be nice please. Cast, we've got me, we've got hubby, and we've got mother-in-law. When my now husband and I were engaged, we had one credit card that we used for emergencies or small things. We were buying a house, getting married, so he paid it off so we would have it if needed for house. All good. Nope. Statement for the card came in and showed thousands of dollars in purchases, including Disney World tickets for 3, with all of the accoutrements, stereo system, clothes, computer and desk, several semesters of college for one of his younger brothers, and more. Hubby was mad. Called credit card company, and they stated it was on his second card. He tried to explain he did not have a second card. That is when they revealed that he had signed for a second card
Yes,
on
go
his
get
application.
food.
And
Hi.
he didn't. Apparently, entitled parents saw him put application in mailbox. He lived on grandparents' farm that had main house and a few trailers for family to live in. Once he left, she opened it and marked for a second card for herself and put it back in. So, prior to our engagement, hubby was paying almost all of entitled parents' expenses as he was the oldest of 5 and felt responsible for them. Dad divorced and stepdad left. Once we became engaged, and especially once I became pregnant, he told entitled parent he couldn't anymore as he had his own family to take care of now. Entitled parent did not take this well. She took that second card and took 2 siblings to Disney World and everything else listed above. Hubby stormed into entitled parent's kitchen and demanded the card. Some is paraphrased as this happened a while ago, but this is mostly how it went down. Hubby, give me the credit card, now! Entitled parent, what card are you talking about? Fake, confused expression. Hubby, the one you signed for yourself and just spent thousands on. Entitled parent. Oh,
That's fraud.
I was gonna wait until your birthday and give it to you as a present. And, well, now you ruined it. She wanted more time to go shopping.
What?
I'll bet. Give it. Now.
How is that a gift?
Now! Entitled parent hands over credit card grudgingly, and hubby promptly cuts it off, making her very upset. He tells her that was supposed to help us through with the house, wedding, and pregnancy. We decided to go for the trifecta, and now we were thousands in debt, and she needed to pay us back. I don't have that kind of money. I'm your mother, and you needed to help me.
That's not how that works.
I have my own family now. We are your family. Payment, now! So entitled parent called in his youngest sister and youngest brother, who is developmentally delayed, to write hubby a check for $100 from each of their accounts to pay for their trip to Disney World, and gave us another $100 in loose pennies. We never got another dime. Had to wrap pennies every day for a week to return them before change machines were available, and the bank only took wrapped, signaled, and dated. Fast forward 3 years. She comes over to our tiny 2-bedroom apartment and tells hubby, "What happened? You used to be so good with money." I had to get in front of him and told her to leave before she got hurt. Never saw him so angry in my life. So, that is how we ended up with $10,000 in credit card fees, including late fees. He wouldn't press charges because it was his mom.
Dude,
I have so many more stories too. Next
Press
we've got
charges.
Fire Me, You're All Losing Your Jobs. After uni, late 2018, I fell on rough times and was forced to move back to my hometown. I tried to transfer my job to a branch in my area, but failed. Thus, I needed to get a new job. I settled for a 20-hour-a-week job at a Bookies, with a second bartending job in the evenings. The Bookies is the target for my revenge, which was entirely accidental. Involved are the following: Janelle, my manager's manager; Shay, my manager; George and Gordon, my coworkers; and Kara, a coworker at another store who is relevant later.
This one probably doesn't need too much straightening.
I ended up working behind the counter as a customer service manager, basically a step up from a cashier. It's fancy when seen on a CV, but there's nothing really to it. I took bets, chatted with customers, helped people with machines, and for the vast majority of my shift, sat around waiting for something to do. I got on well with my coworkers, or so I thought, and had no major issues. It was 20 hours a week, about £1 more than a minimum wage job with a lot of overtime required of me and irregular shift patterns. Though I had no issue with the job, beyond how difficult it was to juggle the schedule of both of my jobs.
Right, here's your present. Thanks for paying for it. And also, by the way, the present is just a card that I've spent thousands of money on.
It cannot be emphasized enough that it was a probation hearing in which I would have my performance reviewed and, as important in training, was entitled to a pay raise at the end of it. I arrived that morning to a disciplinary hearing where, without even a shred of evidence, I was accused of 11 different cash discrepancies dating back to early November of 2018, shortly after I had started, which all amounted to £271, all but one of which I had never heard of before. These had apparently been reported and logged by my manager, Jay, and my coworkers, despite no one saying a word to me at all. Not a whisper in the 5 months this had apparently been occurring. I was told that it was unacceptable. A call was made to HR, and I was terminated on the spot and forced to hand over my keys.
So, are you stealing my fan? Don't steal my fan.
To my protests, I was told the decision could not be appealed, and I would eventually receive written confirmation of my employment's termination in the post. I didn't let myself slump around and feel sorry for myself.
Here, give me snacky because you're cute, baby.
I opened up Indeed and applied for a bunch of jobs, and before I arrived home, had an interview set up for the next week at what is my current place of work. Now, I was furious, fuming at having gone to what I thought should have been a normal probation meeting, and having, effectively, been called a thief and been banned for life from a place I'd never go to anyway. But somehow, my parents were angrier and ordered me to let them know when they got into contact with me again. Almost 2 weeks later, I received an email from the company's HR, which reiterated the accusations and stated again that I was terminated. My mom sat me down in the kitchen and walked me through a letter response that was 2 parts professional and 3 parts scathing, ripping into them about their unprofessional conduct, their ludicrous claims, their lack of evidence, the holes in their story, because there were quite a few, and finally, the cherry on the cake, the employment laws they had broken. Now, I didn't want much, just a nice reference, a promise that not a whisper of these accusations would turn up when my new job asked them for a reference, because by then, I'd already been offered the job. I then attached the letter to an email to fire back at their HR department. Then I added Janelle's work email, then her boss's email, and finally the holding company that owned the brand, because I wanted to make sure this was seen. A bit of background. The Bookies I work for is a brand that is owned by an international company. Their name, behind the scenes, is slapped on everything, and they pretty much dictate everything we did. I'm not sure if holding company is the correct term, but I'll stick to that for now. Anyway, I sent this email with a 48-hour window for a response. I received a reply the next day from the same email that my demands were being met. I smirked victoriously and moved on with my life, happy to wash my hands with the entire ordeal. However, I'd set off a chain reaction that I wouldn't know about until 3 months later. 3 months on, I had settled into my new job, a call center position with double the hours and well over double the pay. I had gone gone through training and was settling into my new position when I see a new set of trainees settling in near my team. Among them was Gordon, one of my coworkers from the bookies. I was stunned. Gordon had been at the bookies for 6 years when I joined. He was well liked, good at his job, and a favorite of the managers. There was no way he'd been fired. Though I didn't really want to talk to him, as I was of the impression that he, George, and my manager had likely set me up. I did want to know what happened. Luckily, on seeing me in the break room one shift, he sought me out and told me everything. Apparently, my email had been read by the higher-ups in the holding company and had caused a lot of scrutiny to fall onto the bookies in our town, of which there were 3 in our area that Janelle was responsible for, 2 in my town and a 3rd in a neighboring one. Someone in HR passed the message down to the area manager, Janelle's boss, claiming they wanted things investigated and they wanted results yesterday, causing him to drop everything and descend on our little town with the panic and aggression of a man whose superiors were watching his every breath. It went to Janelle wanting to know why he hadn't been made aware previously that I was apparently stealing money, why I had been given keys to the shop and shifts on my own when allegations of that nature were attributed to me, and why I hadn't been put under investigation. Turns out, Janelle had, in fact, put in my employee file that I was under investigation, but had never actually gone through with any of the official procedures for monitoring and investigating me. Thus, she had fired me for the accused crime without looking into it at all, falsely claiming otherwise. Thus, the area manager took the dates and amounts of the cash discrepancies, confirmed that they had been reported on those days without my knowledge in Shay's own logbook of the shop's cash, and sent that information onto our security team to investigate. Another little detail is that the CCTV for every shop in the brand is outsourced to a private security company who monitors each shop remotely and has access to all the cameras and video. As was procedure, they looked into the dates mentioned to see if I'd been doing anything. I know I wasn't, and nothing was ever sent to me. But they did find something. Turns out, money was going missing from the shop, but surprise, surprise, it wasn't me, but George and Shay. They not only set me up, for reasons I will never know, but were also falsifying numbers and cash checks on the system to hide it. One thing Shay was caught doing was deliberately shortchanging customers by taking portions of their winnings without them even knowing it. Bear in mind, a lot of our customers were elderly men and women. Gordon claims that he once opened the shop after I and Shay had closed the night before and noticed a cash difference, but had been told not to say anything to me as I was under investigation and it could compromise it. He did apologize and I let it go. Needless to say, George and Shay were fired. But it doesn't end there. Our team was small. Including me, there were a total of 4 people working at the store. As they hadn't been able to hire anyone to replace me, George and Shay's termination meant Gordon was the only employee at the busiest shop in our area. Even if they'd been able to get other colleagues from the other 2 shops to help out, it wouldn't have been enough to keep the shop open and manage the amount of customers. So they closed the location down until they could get the staff to run it. It was at that point that Gordon handed in his resignation and applied for his job at my work, meaning they had no one. On top of that, Gordon's girlfriend worked in the same shop as Janelle, and she realized that she was rarely at their store in the other town for the next few weeks before the area manager reported she was fired as well. No reason given to her. I was later issued an apology for everything by the area manager and informed she, Janelle, was no longer with the company in an email sometime later. But somehow, it doesn't end there. With the store I worked at closed, this one being on the high street where most people prefer to go, the other location in town was the much smaller location in the suburbs, the one where Kara worked, alone. She suddenly received an influx of customers into her tiny store space and absolutely no support from other staff or upper management. Thus, for her own mental health, having already been overworked and underpaid, running an entire store by herself, she quit, meaning that location had to be closed down too. All of this at the worst possible time, March, when the Cheltenham Festival was occurring, which is a huge moneymaker in that industry, even in a small town like ours. An opportunity the 3 other bookies on the high street reaped the benefits of instead of my old place, as the former customers went to them instead. As it currently stands, just over a year later, both shops remain closed, and I'm currently entering a job in cybersecurity, the training for which I pay for with my current job. Thank you for firing me, jerks. You did me a favor. Next we've got customer doesn't understand how receipt lookups work. I work behind a return desk at a decently large retail store. I deal with every type of customer imaginable. The kind ones, the rude ones, and the especially rude ones. It was 2 to 3 weeks ago when one of these especially rude customers rolled in with a return. Multiple returns, rather. Right off the bat, I knew I was in for a treat. I was in the process of reticketing items previously returned on my desk, leaving little to no space for any more items on said desk. That's when this customer comes and slams her bag of returns right on top of everything I was working on, including our expensive machines.
Ooh.
Machines remained okay, by the way. No greeting said, just returns. I muster up the tightest smile possible and slowly remove my own work elsewhere.
I'm gonna take a break for a few seconds.
For the return. I then ask the basics. Do you have a receipt? Nope. What about the form of payment used to purchase these items? Nope. I then tell her that I'll begin a receipt lookup in hopes of finding proof of these purchases so she can receive the full amount back for them.
Before you shit on me for my bong water, I know I need to clean it.
System, which would make the search easier. This is where she loses her patience. Just as I'm about to ask when these items were purchased, she goes off. Why don't you just scan the items? Scanning them should bring up my receipt. I tell her, no, that's not how purchases from our store work.
We're doing good, guys. We're doing good.
And you just don't want to do it.
Slowly but surely.
Every other store does it for me. Stop making this difficult. I explain as calmly as possible that it's not possible to pull up a receipt just from scanning a barcode from the item's bought. We need a specified date when bought, and either a phone number, email, or form of payment used in said purchase tagged along with an item ID, not just the item ID alone. That's literally.
Have I ever dressed up as Harley? I haven't. Well, not the
as I go back
current DC or
to find a receipt.
Yeah, the current DC.
But alas, she had to
rebrand of Harley. I haven't done that one. I've done like an older one a while ago, but that's it.
Stated as she tried tilting the computer monitor so she could get a look at what I was doing from behind the desk. Not allowed. I quickly stopped her movements, wanting to protect our property, and snapped. It becomes difficult.
There is still waffle in it, yeah.
And impatient. She didn't say much after that. 5 more minutes of desperately searching, she gave up. She grabbed her unreturned items and thanked me for nothing. I smiled and told her to have a great rest of her day, to which she replied, "Forget you," to me and left. A coworker was quick to fill me in on previous encounters she had with that same customer. Apparently, she's known for being the worst of the worst. Thrives off of it, even. Today, Sunday, God's Day, this devil of a woman returned, with more returns. My coworkers and I were already pretty busy as
oh my gosh, okay.
I made it a
I'm gonna smoke, and then I think I might do a potty break.
I make room on our desk for her and beckon her up.
And then
she has attitude right off the bat. I'm here to return items, and hopefully this time
I want to do one more.
Return them.
See how I feel after that,
like my last visit.
and then maybe call it for a day, for today, for the day, whatever.
She ignored it and beckoned to her items. I searched the bag she provided for a receipt, and what do you know? She didn't have one. Nor did she have the form of payment used to purchase them with. Cue deja vu. Despite the previous interaction, she still couldn't handle the questions I had next. Dates, emails, phone number, anything to help, she still didn't get it. Still didn't appreciate my efforts to find her receipt. I never have issues with this stuff, not from any other stores. This specific store is beyond terrible with its customer service. You should be ashamed with how you've treated me. To her lack of knowledge, a manager had been watching the interaction from the start, as she was familiar with the customer herself. My manager swooped in after that statement, sweetened the customer up a bit, and somehow got a brand new phone number out of her. One that this customer never provided me with, in which helped me find the receipt just like that. Her items matched with the receipt found, and she was credited a whopping $195 to her card. You would think she would be happy that the issue was solved, but unfortunately, no. She began asking my manager why our systems were so flawed and why it takes so many steps for a receipt to be found. My manager explained our policies regarding the subject, and the devil woman left without another word spoken. I never even get rude with customers like I got with this woman, even ones that talk to me with serious attitude. This one crossed a ridiculous amount of lines, from nearly ruining our printing machines.
Yeah, I'm trying to pace myself better.
Showing impatience and being
Okay, I'm gonna go pee.
Despite my long
I'm gonna give you guys the break music.
I felt it.
So I'm gonna pause this and yes. Okay. Break time. Go get a snack or something. I'll be right back. doggies. We have doggies. Let me play this.
Returns
Oh man, I'm so tired today, guys.
Beyond hard sometimes. But
What I
we like
miss.
to go the extra mile in an attempt to find them for customers. Nobody wants to go home without their money back. We know this. We try to help. We really do. I wish more people could sense this.
You guys are tired
I
too?
always help in the grocery store. Thought I worked there. I do my shopping the exact same time every week in a large grocery store. There's a little old woman who usually does her shopping at around the same time. She has some mobility issues and doesn't buy much. So after a few times of seeing her having to flag down help every time she wanted something from a shelf above the shoulder level, I approached her
Let's do a
and
red
asked if
wig.
she'd like a shopping companion. It took me under 10 minutes to get everything on her list, and she was very gracious and grateful. Even offered me a few dollars.
I think I'm gonna go for another hour, guys. See what I can get done in that time, and then I'm gonna call it for the day. Force myself to not do too much.
It's just
And if I get a second wind, I'll
so
come back
next
to it
week, when I saw her
and
again,
try to finish some more.
I asked if she'd
Yeah.
like someone to shop with her, and she was again very grateful for the help. It became our usual routine that whenever I spotted her, usually every other week or two, I'd give her a hand. One week, I didn't do my shopping at the usual time. I worked a little late. When I came in, there was a big fuss at the customer service desk, involving my shopping friend and a young man. I started to go over to be sure everything was all right, and hear the young man say, "What do you mean no one with that name works here?" She had a name tag on. My mom saw the name, right, Mom? And she said she did. And the customer service kid is saying he really doesn't have anyone by that name who works there. The young man is going, "What do you mean? Did you fire her? She was here last week, right, Ma?" And I realize it's my name and the potential source of confusion. I go in for shopping immediately after work, and my work uniform is a maroon shirt and the khaki pants with a name tag. The grocery store I shop at has white shirts, any kind of pants you want, and a maroon apron with the store's logo. So, a little similar. I go over and she gleefully cries, "There you are! I want you to meet my son!" And he started telling me how grateful he is I was taking time out of my work to personally help his mom shop, and now that he's in town, he wanted to say thanks in person and give me some money, or at least put in a good word with my manager at the store. So could I point them out so he could speak with them? I explained the confusion, and they were both so touched. It was one of the most poignant moments of my life, and definitely the most meaningful I've ever had in a supermarket. If you saw a little old lady trying to reach something in a supermarket, but you could reach it, would you help her?
I would, but bitch, I probably can't reach it either.
Entitled Mom yells at me for bad
Oh,
service
thank
and
you,
then
Lex.
asks me for
Let's
a
do
job.
a chocolate.
So I'm the manager of a popular fast food chain.
Yay.
And our store is crazy when it comes to service because of the demands.
Did I say doggy chocolate?
In our dingy little burger
Did I
joint.
say doggy chocolate? Because I did not say doggy chocolate.
We rush to open the
It's
door
not for
our
you, little
customers
bubble.
as they enter and leave. We serve them at
Why
their
is she
table,
like this?
clear away their dishes, and we bring meat
Everything
at
that
the end of
crinkles
their
is
meal.
not for
I
doggies.
also like to point out that we are not allowed to take tips, and if customers do leave tips, it goes to the owners. Also,
You're funny.
we always
You
go to
are.
the table after the
Silly
customer
girl.
has had a few bites to make sure everything is to their satisfaction.
Yes,
Anyways,
420
this entitled mom
chocolate.
was dining in, and apparently she is a regular, though I've never seen her before.
I can open
She
it.
comes
Oh.
up to me in the middle of a
Open.
huge rush. Entitled mom.
There we go.
Excuse me. Me. Hello.
It gets me every time.
Entitled mom. Your employee was really rude. I want her fired. May I ask what she did to upset you? I told her my son's order tasted disgusting, and she refuses to eat it. Your employee refused to get me a new one. She hands me the receipt, which had about $50 worth of food on it, and that is a lot of food for a fast food place. Nee, I'm sorry about that. I'll send someone over to pick up whatever your son didn't eat, and we'll get your order made.
Oh, crap.
What do you mean? We can dispose of the food that he didn't like, so you don't have to clean it yourself. We already ate the food. You ate the food? Yes. You said it was disgusting. It was the worst food I've ever had in my life. Ma'am, I can't remake your entire order again. You've eaten everything. If your son didn't like it, I can definitely remake his order. But it was gross. At this point, her server overhears and joins in the conversation. Server, ma'am, I asked you if everything
Having
was
worked
to your
at a few
satisfaction
restaurants,
a couple
this
of
is
minutes after we gave
painfully
you the order,
common.
and you responded, everything is fine. Well, it wasn't. Just give me the
It
whole
hurts my
order.
brain. I just had
Me.
flashbacks.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I cannot do that. She went nuts. I can't believe this is happening. I've never been treated with such disrespect. My son
Irony.
deserves to eat with his family. He will feel self-conscious if everyone is watching him. Me. Ma'am, I'm only able to fix what was wrong with the order,
Not
which is your
our
son's
problem.
food. The service here used to be amazing. It took us 3 years to beat you guys to the door. I told all of my church friends how good you guys were. Now, you want to embarrass me? Me. I'm sorry you were not satisfied with the service today. She cuts me off. I'm going to tell all of my church friends about you and your scam. We are going to get you fired. She proceeds to storm out without her children, who are scurrying around after her once they realized she wasn't coming back. I brushed this off and sent my report into the owners in case they called corporate. 1 week later, I'm working the same shift, and in walks entitled mom with her kids. She comes up to me and smiles. Hi, I'm wondering if you are hiring here. Me, obviously stunned. What? I'm looking for a job, and I absolutely love the service here. I want to apply.
What?
Me. What? You want to work here? Yes. Your service is amazing. It took us 3 years to beat you guys to the door. That's how good you guys are. I always
What is
recommend
this?
my
It took
church
us
friends
3
here.
years to beat
I
you to the
really
door.
want to be part of this team. At this point, I am at a loss for words. I put on the sweetest smile and said, Lady, I can assure you that I will never hire you, and I will make sure that none of our other locations will hire you. You are the last person I want on my team, so I will not be accepting your application. I don't think anyone has ever spoken to her like that before, because she just stood there with her jaw flapping open and shut, trying to process what happened. To be honest, I wasn't even sure what happened. I had never spoken to a customer like that before.
Honey,
It was
at that
very
point,
thrilling.
she's not a customer. She's a
Since she
potential
didn't say anything,
employee.
I continued. You are more than welcome to tell your church friends what I said. And I walked to the door and held it open for her. She was silent as she walked out and didn't even acknowledge me when I wished her a lovely day. Edit. I just want to add that I live in Canada. Edit 2. Since so many of you are asking for clarification, she said, beat you to the door, because our staff always opens the door for the customers. It took 3 years for her to open the door for herself.
Oh.
Speaking of fast food,
Okay, I was like,
if any
what?
fast food place,
So
please
weird.
let me know. I
Yeah, I
prefer
need to section
McDonald's.
this
Next
better.
we've got Encounter with Entitled Parents in the Pediatric Emergency Room. This happened yesterday. My 3-year-old daughter DX'd with pneumonia, and we ended up in the emergency room. Pneumonia is very serious. She was put on a nebulizer and O2 and given an IV for more meds while we waited for a room to open up in the PICU. The emergency room was pretty full. The rooms are small, and you share them. There is a curtain that divides them. There are no doors, just another curtain. Around 4 p.m., a family arrives with mom, dad, and 5-year-old kid. The mom briefly looks in on my side of the room and could see my kid hooked to the machines with an IV. It's obvious that this isn't a stubbed toe. So I can't help but hear the parents explaining why their kid's in the ED. Stomach pain. Meanwhile, the kid is asking for something to eat. She sounds quite perky. Parents insist she has a kidney infection. Whatever. I don't know her history. Not interested. So my daughter was given a shot to help her open her airways. Her O2, which they wanted 90 or above, kept dipping down into the low 80s, making an alarm sound. The nebulizer makes some noise, and the side effect is hyperactivity, so my extremely sick kid was medically wired as heck. Within 30 minutes of arriving, the entitled parents call for a nurse and ask for a private room because their kid needs to rest somewhere quiet. Meanwhile, their kid was blasting YouTube videos from her tablet and loudly demanding chocolate chip cookies and milk. The nurse explains that there are no private rooms in the emergency room. My daughter then starts having a coughing fit,
Weird.
which is scary as her O2 drops off and she chokes. I had 2 nurses in there trying to help by suctioning her and patting her back. I'm trying to help her. My daughter's turning blue. I hear the entitled mother ask the nurse, "How long are we going to be expected to listen to that?" Afterwards, my daughter was wiped out and was crying a little, and the entitled mom rang for her nurse again and asked again for someplace quiet so her girl can rest. Her daughter was making a lot of noise playing with something. Then they started playing with the lights. The room has a switch to control the lights on each side, and then a master switch to cut all the lights. My daughter's afraid of the dark. The entitled dad cuts the lights for the room, making it quite
Oh
dark.
wait, they're in a room,
Over the door,
like a
lighting
room
on.
together.
I
Getting
tell my
okay,
husband
got it,
to turn
got
all
it.
the
It's like a
lights on
split
our
room.
side.
I was like, how are they just in the lobby
Entitled
doing
mom
this?
calls her nurse.
Why do I think they're in the
Complaining that
lobby?
It's too bright for her girl to sleep. It's 5 p.m. The nurse explained that they are welcome to shut the lights off on their side, but they have to leave our side alone. They complain a bit about how ill their daughter is. Then nurse leaves, and they shut the lights off for the entire room again. My husband immediately turns on ours and calls through the curtain that we need our lights on. Silence. Our nurse comes in to attend to my daughter's IV, and they attempt to get her to force us to leave the lights off. Our nurse basically tells them to knock it off. Then they start pushing for more space. They attempt to push our chair away from where my husband is sitting. They put their chair way over on our side of the room, pushing the curtain into our faces essentially. My husband pushes it back. They call and complain, rinse and repeat. Finally, a room in the PICU opens up, and we are told that we would be admitted in an hour. Entitled parents complain that they asked for a private room first. The nurse explains that we are being admitted, not given a private room in the ED. The entitled parents demand that they be admitted first because their daughter is so much sicker. The nurse says that there is no reason for her to even be admitted, and she probably just needs to go to the bathroom. Next we've got, not everyone in a suit wants to sell you a car. I'm a practicing attorney in an area known for many jerks being inherent to the local
Not
population.
everyone in a suit wants to sell you a car.
Today, and I just got the time to type this out.
LMAO.
Just to set the stage, I wear a suit until I go to bed, and I'm just over 6 feet and 250 pounds. I own a
Sounds like a
heavily
lot of work,
modified car, so I take it to the performance shop I had do the modifications every 2,000 miles or so for technical inspections and to dial in the tune. With the changing season and a few new components, we moved it to once every 500 miles to make sure everything's all proper, which means I'm having the car for a look over just about each week since I commute around 40 miles. Across the street from the shop is a dealership for very high-end cars. Specifically, one side serves a high-end British automaker known for ultra-luxury work and an Italian brand known for being gaudy. I'm a bit of a gearhead, so
Ferrari?
I take walking across the street to chat up the employees and to see if there's anything exciting.
That's my guess for the
enough
Italian
me to
one.
wanna
Is
get
that
a model
Italian? I
car
have no
of for
fucking
my
idea.
desk
I'm
in
not a
our
car
inventory.
person.
I'm on good terms with the staff there, since a couple of them are former clients for rather exciting speeding tickets and the like, and my girlfriend is a sales representative at an Audi dealership in the same network. I'm examining a gorgeous green coupe and waiting for a coffee an employee had gone to get, since these dealerships have expensive coffee machines, and darn it, they're gonna use them, especially for a friend. I feel a tap on my shoulder and turn around, only to find what could be described as just under 5 feet of dark skin wrapped around silicone and the vague facsimile of a person looking at me with mild impatience and attired in booty shorts and some sort of almost inadequate crop top in colors that can be described.
Sorry,
as a
what are these
constant
words you were using to
violation of
describe
one's
this human?
eye
I'm so
sockets
confused.
and a pair of worryingly high heels. Just to be clear, in most cases, prospective customers make an appointment so that product specialists can devote their full attention to the needs of the client. At this moment, us and a local Instagrammer were the only people on the showroom floor. Can I help you? I ask. A mistake, to be sure, but one easy to make when you get through law school on customer service jobs. This entity proceeds to ask questions of me about the SUV offering of this brand. Power, engines, what can fit in it, that sort of stuff. Being a gearhead, I actually know many of the things she asks, or can refer to a piece of laminated paper on a nearby example. Then she asks me for a test drive. Firstly, I don't work there. And secondly, I don't believe test drives happen for that level of car without one having already contracted to buy it. I attempt to answer her with an,
You'd be
"I'm sorry,
surprised.
ma'am, but I cannot do that
I've
as I
just
don't
driven
work here."
those level of
This
cars
does not
before,
fly.
no
She
problem.
raises her voice and interrupts me before I can
Sorry.
inform her of my lack of employment at the establishment. "It's because of how I look, isn't it?" was what passed from the most definitely augmented lips. Firstly, no. And secondly, I don't work here. I try to be concise, already shifting into a mode of how I speak when speaking to the court. "Listen here, you deceitful jerk. Her words, not mine. I've seen you up in here talking with the salesmen. I remember that Monday plural very clearly. And I know you work with them. So let me test drive this car, and I'll forget about how rude you've been. She starts approaching very close at this point. Ma'am, I don't work here. And if I did, it would be hard to get a test drive anyway. I would be interrupted by a one-handed dog with big claws grabbing me by my necktie and dragging me down to her level. I remind you that I'm 6'1" and 250 pounds, and my head has been jerked down a good foot. My glasses fall to the floor. Shut up and give me those darn keys before I tell your manager. It's at this point that my friend returns to the showroom with the coffee from the attached dealership and witnesses this goblin assailing his friend. He strides over, puts on a wide smile, and asks, "What's wrong?" She turns on her heel, resulting in a rather unpleasant crunch as her heel crushes the lens of my glasses. I didn't quite catch her rant directed at the real employee, but I did finally have enough of this. I pulled my card from my pocket, thrust it in her face, and spoke with the same voice I use in court to make conclusions, and the same little smile. Ma'am, I do not work here. I am an attorney who is friends with several employees here. I just answered your questions because I love the products of this brand, and I know some things about it. Now, I am going to ask that either you hand over a check for $600 to cover damages you have inflicted upon my glasses, or I will get the police involved for the battery you performed upon my person. I then cross my arms, and after a moment of looking between me and the door and the security cameras, she sighs and surprisingly pulls out a checkbook and writes me a check for the damages. I put it in my pocket and observe the general manager of the dealership, who had seen it happen on camera, rush out and ban her on the spot for assaulting somebody in his dealership before security, who had been holding back until a manager gave word, escorted her out. The manager apologized profusely and gave me a fancy paperweight for free for my troubles. I thanked him and left after drinking the coffee. I got my prescription sunglasses from the car so I'd be able to drive safely before calling on my boss, one of the partners at the firm, to tell him my side of events in case she tried something with the card I gave her. I took the check to her bank once the adjustments on my car were done, and surprisingly, it cashed out without incident. I'm going to the optometrist tomorrow to get new glasses, and according to my girlfriend, she actually got the notice at her dealership to deny service to that cretin as well. So, all's well that ends well. What kind of car do you drive? Please let me know. Next week, guys. Entitled Mom goes off because wife and I spend our money on things we need. A bit of background. I moved out of home when I was 18. I am now 30 and married, living with my wife. Since I left my home 12 years ago, I have worked full-time, including 10 years in the military. I am completely independent from my parents and have been the entire time. I have never relied on or asked them for anything. I have two sisters who still live at home. They both work casual and study. They are both shocking with money, constantly going overseas on holidays or to concerts and festivals with friends, just blowing every cent they earn. Their choice though, good on them. Me, I've been on one overseas holiday for my honeymoon, but that's it. I save money every week and always have. I have fun too. I just make sure that if I can help it, I don't go backwards. Yet, for some reason, Entitled Mom is always on my back about money. Not my sisters, just me. Whenever I spend anything, it's a big deal. She also has this thing about my wife not earning enough. She works full-time and makes a decent salary, just not quite what mine is. It doesn't matter. We're a team, and my wife is amazing. She does a lot for us in so many other aspects of our life. Entitled Mom is always saying that my wife is just playing me for my money, and one of these days she will leave.
So she's hounding you about not having money, but then also saying your wife is only with you for the money?
My wife and I have a great marriage. She's an amazing woman, and even if she did become unhappy and want to leave, she would absolutely deserve half, as income is only a small part of what someone brings to a marriage, and my wife is an absolute star. Honestly, I think it just makes Entitled Mom mad that we don't need her. So anyway, the story. Recently, there was a large hailstorm in my city. There was widespread damage. Thousands of vehicles were destroyed, including my wife's car. Luckily, the car was insured, and after a couple of weeks, we received a decent payout.
Time to straighten.
Although my wife loved her car, we did did see this as a bit of a blessing in disguise, as we had an old personal loan outstanding as well as a credit card with a little owing also. The plan was to completely pay off both of these, close the accounts, and with what was left, buy my wife a car. Then, if there was still some left, we would put some extra cash against our home loan. Yes, I know it sounds like we are drowning in debt. I assure you, we are not. Our situation is very manageable. We make all payments on time, and still manage to put something away every week for ourselves. So anyway, this was all a few weeks back, and since then, we have done all of the above as planned. We are extremely happy because we have wiped a lot of our debt. Everything except the home loan. And my wife loves her new car, despite it being a bit of a downgrade. Since all of this occurred, I had not heard from entitled mom. My parents are retired and traveling the country in a caravan, so I'm not bothered by this. Yesterday, I decided to call and check in.
Nice.
Things are normal at first. Conversation is pleasant, but I can tell entitled mom has something on her mind, so I ask if something's wrong. The floodgates are open. She's been holding this in for weeks. I paraphrase, but here's how it went down. Entitled mom, I'll tell you what's wrong. Your wife's spending $35,000 on a car when you have a home loan to think about. Your wife is manipulative and selfish, and you are a gutless pushover. She will send you broke, and your father and I won't be there to pick up the pieces. Me? Whoa, what the heck? First of all, why on earth do you think we spent that on a car? Where would you have even got that number from? Reminder, I haven't spoken to entitled mom in weeks. As far as I know, she had no idea we had bought the car yet. Your sister showed me your wife's Snapchat story. There was a photo of the car with the price in the window, so don't lie to me. Me? Well, that photo was taken before we even spoke with a dealer. The price in the window was $32,000, not $35,000, and that was the original price. There was a sale on, dropping at $6,000, and I was able to talk them down further, $3,000. On top of all that, my mother-in-law gave my wife some of her nan's inheritance to go towards it. Entitled mom, casually moving past the part where she was wrong. Well then, tell me what you paid for it. You know what? No.
Yep, exactly. You're right, Mungo. I agree. So dumb.
If you wanted to know, maybe you could have called and asked how we were going with the car situation at some point over the last few weeks, but I haven't heard from you, and our finances are none of your business anyway. Entitled mom hangs up. Haven't heard a thing from her in days now, and don't expect to for a while. Spoke to my dad. His advice is, don't poke the bear. Makes me laugh. Apparently, my wife is manipulative, and I am a pushover. Yeah, sure.
Ironic.
Might be time to go no contact for a bit.
For a bit?
Have your parents ever tried to control what you spend your money on? Let me know. I'd really love to hear from you. Next we've got entitled parents sit outside and let their spawn run amok in a restaurant. Cast. We've got the staff. And we've got entitled dad. And we've got their spawn. There's a cafe near my apartment that I've been going to a couple times a week for the last month-ish. By this point, the staff all know me as I go in at random times of the day, and I tip really well in a non-tipping culture because I'm usually there for a couple hours and just have tea. On Saturday, I had some work to do, so I brought my laptop.
I'm so glad all my wigs are heat-proof.
The front of the cafe was packed, so I went to sit in the back, very separated from the rest of the cafe, up some stairs, past some offices, etc. I soon found out why the back was empty. Within minutes of sitting down, a herd of screaming banshees ran by. Enter the spawn. You see, this cafe has an enclosed kids' playroom in the back that's full of toys, drawing material, and stuff for them to do so they can play while the parents eat. I had been there before when kids were in there, and there was some noise, because they make noise. But it was never bad, because the parents always sat at the table by the play area and kept them under control. This was not the case with these parents. These parents were nowhere to be seen in the area and had just left their 3 spawn there unsupervised while they had dinner. I later found out they weren't even in the restaurant. They were in a separate outdoor seating area that was basically as far away from the playroom as you can get. I assume that's why they never heard the screams. After about 10 minutes of watching them run around in the back restaurant area, not the playroom, screaming, throwing toys, bumping into tables and servers, and generally wreaking havoc, I was pretty upset. Eventually, inevitably, one got hurt and went screaming and running to Dad through the restaurant. Entitled Dad 1 comes back, herds the spawn back into the playroom, talks to them for a few minutes, and then leaves. Within minutes, the spawn are back out doing the same thing. The servers kept apologizing to me, but there wasn't anything they could do, and it wasn't their fault. Apparently, the entitled dads had decided to periodically check on the spawn because a little bit earlier, entitled dad 2 showed up and stood there watching them wreak havoc on the restaurant. He talked to them, but didn't stop them from throwing a toy at a server or running and screaming and poking himself. Basically, he just didn't care. I signaled one of the servers to come over, and he apologized again and said there was an empty table up front I could move to. I told him no problem, winked, and said, I hope that dad speaks English. I'm currently in a non-English speaking country. I then threw the Karen fit to end all Karen fits. I raged about how horrible their kids are and how the parents should be shamed for letting their kids behave in such a manner and terrorize an entire restaurant because they were too lazy to be parents. The server had his back to the entitled dad and kept apologizing, but he was actually cracking up because he knows me and knows I'm generally a chill person. I ranted away for several minutes about the spawn and their shameful parents, basically ripping them apart. Then I demanded they move me away from the little terrors. When we got up front, he told the other servers what I had done, and they all started cracking up. They came over to thank me for saying what they couldn't, and they proceeded to buy me a drink in thanks. Within minutes, I saw entitled dad 2 herd the kids through the restaurant and out onto the patio so they would be with their parents. I could still hear them screaming, and they were running around like crazy, but at least now they were only harassing their own family instead of random strangers. Occasionally, I use the loud American complainer reputation to do some good. Have also pulled it out on queue jumpers on a few occasions. So, Karen, what did you think of today's stories? They were horrible. Horrible? How dare you? These were some of the best we've ever read. Oh, shut up, Mr. Reddit. It's ridiculous what people like myself have to go through.
Look how much better it is.
People like yourselves and your subscribers. Look, Karen, you can say whatever
Straightening
you
it
want
does
about me,
such
but
a difference.
don't you talk about my re-army. Re-army? Most of your viewers aren't even subscribed to your channel. 70% if I'm correct. Well, I can't argue with that. That's true. Most of my viewers don't actually subscribe for some reason. It's because you're stupid, Mr. Reddit. No, I'm not. Alright guys, let's prove Karen wrong by making sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications. They're not going to listen to you. And if you'd like me, or Karen, to record a special message for you.
Oh, this is gonna be so good for this wig.
Never.
Do you see the difference? I don't know if you can tell how bad it is, but like,
in the next video.
it goes from looking like a shit wig to a good wig. So chill out. Here, it's gonna play another video. Let me link it.
Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we've read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled parents you've ever heard of. And by the way,
now the Bubbles one's out, so let me let the Bubbles out.
If this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try to speak to anyone's manager for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become an official member of the Re-Army today, and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. r/entitled parents. Karen tries to get me fired from my amusement park. I worked at an amusement park at this time. We got snooty parents and kids, etc. all the time. Figured I'd start sharing some stories. This is technically a repost, but it got taken down, so I'm putting it here. Hopefully it'll stay up this time. Third time's a charm, am I right? So here I am, kind of dreading coming into work at this point, because I know I have about 3 days left of working as a ride operator. From there, I would go to work at the National Archives, or the Smithsonian. I think I had decided on National Archives at this point, but I honestly don't remember. This becomes relevant later. So, I'm working at my favorite ride in the park. It's called the Music Express. If you know the ride that spins in a circle, goes up and down a little, goes backwards sometimes, it's that. They're everywhere. Ours, in this case, has a seatbelt and a latch bar. I'm working there with someone, which is unusual, as we were understaffed in that section due to a promotional event we were doing. We load up everyone, and when I got back down to the entrance zone after double checking my partner's work, and him mine, we really care about safety. You're fired for not being up to standard on safety. I get someone who we'll call Karen. She asks me to come over to her and asks me to look at her daughter's arm, who's about 5 or so. The exchange goes as follows. We've got me, Karen, and Karen's daughter. Me. What am I supposed to be looking at? Karen. What do you mean, what are you supposed to be looking at? Look at her arm. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to be looking at here. You hurt her arm. Me. Honestly confused. Do you mind showing me where? Show him your elbow. Karen's daughter points to the inside of her elbow. I now realize exactly where this is going. This is going to be an entitled mom trying to get something because her baby is hurt. It continues. Me, figuring out what's on her arm. Are you okay? Is there anything I can get you? Is she okay? She's been screaming at you for the past 5 minutes, and other people have been trying to get your attention. I want you to get her ice at the very least. Me, knowing this is all wrong. I don't have ice here, but I can direct you to first aid. Karen cuts me off. No, we're on the ride. We want to ride it, and she needs ice now. Me, as I said, I can direct you to first aid. Fine, we'll do it your way. We'll go to first aid, but we're not riding. She said this like it was some sort of threat. Saying I'm not riding as a threat isn't new to me anymore. I'm used to it. But I do also want to add a quick addendum that once we check all the seats, we can't leave the ride area due to safety concerns I won't get into. New addition, FCW is friendly coworker. Me. That's fine. I can't go with you to first aid though. What? Why? It's a safety concern because I'm a 9-year season pass holder, and I know you can come with me.
Bitch, why would that change anything?
Having finally gotten them out of their cars, like I said before, I can't. Haven't you heard the customer is always right? You're coming with me. Me.
Who came up with that phrase? I just want to have a talk.
If you follow a certain path, you can reach first aid. Karen gets to the entrance and sees guest service flag. Why can't you have excellent guest service like the person who got that? You're terrible at your job. I'm a 9-year season pass holder and work for the state. I'm going to have you fired. Me. Actually, I earned that flag. I also have, pointing to something on my shirt, this because I'm one of the best operators in the park. No, you're not. Get me some ice from that booth and we'll be on our way. Me. I'm sorry. As I've said before, there's no ice in the booth. Karen. Friendly coworker. Get my daughter some ice from the booth. Friendly coworker. I can't. We don't have ice in the booth. Karen, stomping towards the booth. I'm getting you both fired. I'm a 9-year season pass.
Oh my god, stop saying that.
Work for the state. Me. At this point, fed up with these antics she puts on for the past 15 minutes. So you outrank me because you work for the state and I work for an amusement park? Yes. Me. In about 2 weeks.
That's not how working for the state works. I'm pretty sure that means you work for the people.
I outrank you. Karen, fuming with anger. Get me a pen and a sheet of paper. I'm writing down both of your names and having you fired. Me grabs a sheet of paper and pulls the pen off my visor that I always have with me. My name is Average Dude 1990. Karen pushes down on the pen so hard that the top of the ballpoint pen pops off and the ink with it. Mighty convenient, isn't that? Get me another pen. She whips the pen at me, which I dodge. Friendly coworker, hands her another pen. My name is Friendly Coworker. Karen, how do I know your name is Average Dude? Keep in mind, by this point, she had checked my ID on 2 separate occasions before this, and I have a name tag that clearly displays my name on my chest. At this point, my memory gets fuzzy, as I was completely caught off guard from Karen harassing me for a solid 20 minutes. She eventually leaves, and I try my best to going back to being my usually cheery operator self. You know, the one that has multiple awards from the park, and one from a training company, as well as having been videotaped for random screening of the park, to then be later used as a model for how to be a good operator. When my supervisor comes over and tells me I need to see the head of ride operations, HRO, Karen had apparently accused me of assault, being an overall rude and arrogant jerk, as well as being rude to other guests, as well as friendly coworker. Head of ride operations asks for my side of the story. I say that I was working at the Music Express with friendly coworker when she stops me. HRL.
Oops.
Wait, you don't mean other run? Me. What? Is that what she said? Just asking. Me. Well, neither me or friendly coworker are trained at the other ride, and only one person can be operating it at a time. HRL. Well, she did say that ride. Me, laughing at the stupidity of it and relief. No, as I said, that would not be possible. That's basically how the conversation went, and friendly coworker confirmed everything I said. We were both sent home for the day, with pay, to make sure she wouldn't try to start anything more. The next day I come in to find out that multiple people on the ride and in line at the Music Express had reported her for berating me, and just wanted to make sure I wouldn't be fired. Because of the statements of those people, combined with mine and friendly coworkers' written accounts of what had happened, she had her season pass revoked and was banned from the park for the rest of the year. A satisfying ending if you ask me. Thanks for reading this. I know it's long, but I just discovered this subreddit, and this felt too good to not share. What is your favorite amusement park? Please leave a comment.
Disney.
Let me know. Next we've got
Not even
I don't work
close.
here, and keep your hands off me. So when I go shopping, I always have headphones in, and I'm either on the phone with my girlfriend about groceries or listening to music. This time I was listening to a podcast. Not important, but if you must know, it's the Misfits podcast. Something about myself is that I am 5'11" to 6 foot, so I usually get asked to help people get things off the shelf. I actually had once joked about having a hat that says, "Yes, I can help you get that off the top shelf." Well, today as I am going through the store doing my thing, I get stopped and asked by these ladies, one in her late 40s, the other very much older, I assume mother and daughter, to grab these very large water jugs that were, for some reason, on the top shelf. Without hesitation, I get them. They thank me
Bruh.
and then ask if I know
I just
about
climb up
something
on
else
them
to be in
shelves.
stock. And I told them that I'm sorry, but I don't work here. I wear nothing but black almost every day of my life, and that just so happens to be the uniform here. So I don't ever get upset when I get confused for an employee. They apologize, and I go back to my cart. I could feel the presence behind me as I began to walk away. That eerie feeling. Then that ominous noise of the road clear, and I knew I had a Karen behind me. I turn around, thinking she was wanting me to get something from the top shelf. "Hi, did you need me to get something from the upper shelf?" I say with my customer service smile. She smacks her lips and rolls her eyes. "Ugh, no. I want you to go in the back for me and get me some more of these." She then holds up some cake mix box. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't actually work here." "Don't lie to me. You're in uniform and just help them. The least you can do is help me get some cake for my church sale." I think to myself, this really can't be real. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I really don't work here. I just understand that I'm tall and I can reach the top shelf."
I
turn
just
my body
understand
around,
that I'm tall.
but still have my face turned towards her as I go to finish speaking. "Have a good day." I then began to walk off. "Hey, don't you walk away from me." She grabs my arm and pulls me towards her. "You show respect to your elders,"
Oh my god, I
she
hate
says
that.
as she's still gripping my arm. Something about me is that I have very little tolerance for people grabbing at me without my permission. "Ma'am, I'd advise letting me go," I say to her, my smile gone, and the lifeless cold look I give when I'm angry. She looks disgusted at me and raises her other hand, which looks like she's going to sock me. "Don't talk to," I cut her off. I said let go. She looked ghost white and backed away. "I do not work here, but I do believe the gentleman
But I am
behind you
Batman.
does and can help you. Don't ever touch me again." And I began to go forward once more. I hear her scream at me that she's going to tell my manager, who is passing by to talk to the guy I had pointed out, and looks at me. "Sir, do you work here? I don't recognize you." I put on my smile again. "No, ma'am, I don't work here, but I can understand why you think that." And I began walking to the checkout. She just went to the horrid woman behind me who is screaming about me being fired and tries to calm her down. I check out and head to my car, and I notice a man about the same age as her, just relaxing and having a cigarette, letting out a long sigh. "Long day, bud?" "No, not really. but some guy just upset my wife, and I'm glad that I don't have to go in to try and thank him for that long car ride home," he said with a smile and an obvious sarcastic tone. I chuckle a bit, but when I turn away, I make the obvious "eee" face and wide-eyed look. Have you ever been mistaken for an employee? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got mess with the marching band? March yourself home. I went to a very large secondary school, middle plus high school in the United States, with a population of over 4,000 students. Because of the school's size and excellent funding, the marching band had its own percussion equipment, wheeled carts, and golf carts to pull them, which were stored in cargo containers in the back parking lot by some classroom trailers. I was on the equipment crew for the marching band, and by the time my senior year rolled around, the containers were about 30 years old and one had started leaking. The band director,
I think this wig will be the last one that we do.
Was able to get them replaced after begging the administration for several years.
Unless I want to like quickly do one of the ones that's just like a new one that I haven't done this to yet. Might do that
So for
if there's time
the
after this one.
We're going to be taking up a section of the parking lot. This wasn't a problem, because the night before, after rehearsal, Mr. Connex had us measure out an extensively large section of the back parking lot and cone it off, so the crew would have plenty of room to work the next day. We filled up the band hall with all the equipment and had the containers empty so the crew could move them, put the new ones in their place with minimal effort the next day. This is the part I only heard about, because I was in class when it happened. The assistant band director was running the band classes for the first part of the day, and Mr. Connex was outside making sure everything would be just so, when all of a sudden a lady drives up, narrowly threads the gap between two cones, and parks right in the middle of where the old containers are going to be stored until next week. Let's call her Mrs. Seekin. Mrs. Seekin had an important meeting with her daughter's guidance counselor. Mr. Connex walks over and politely informs her that she will need to park somewhere else because the forklift crew would be arriving soon, and in return she went off on him, complaining that because they had coned off so much of the back parking lot, the nearest parking was off campus, and she'd need to walk about a quarter mile to get to the main building from there. Mr. Connex told her one more time that she was parked in the middle of the space that the workmen needed, and she told him in no uncertain terms to buzz off before heading around to the front of the building. At this point, Mr. Connex called the principal, Dr. Intermodal, and informed him of the situation. Unfortunately, with the number of buildings on campus and how many guidance counselors there are in a school with over 4,000 students, it would take the better part of an hour to actually figure out where on the campus she had gone, and which guidance counselor she was meeting. Our school had over 20. The school resource officer could probably write them a ticket, but that was about all he could do. Calling a tow truck would probably be faster, but even then, it would take about 30 minutes, at least, to get the car out of the way, and the work crew would be arriving in 10, and any delay would be an unexpected expense for the school. Then Mr. Connex had an idea. He ran it by Dr. Intermodal, and the principal ratified it, so he set his plan into motion. When the work crew arrived, several semi-trucks carrying the newer containers and a forklift, Mr. Connex gave them very specific instructions for how to arrange the old containers when they moved them out of the way for the other company to pick up. A perfect box around Mrs. Seekin's car, with barely enough room for a person to step through between the corners. Her SUV was going to spend hard time in car jail until Wednesday. Then the new containers were unloaded where the old ones had been and the work crew left. About an hour later was my band class period, and since being in marching band was a requirement for the symphonic band, everyone in the room was part of the band, so everyone got conscripted to move the equipment back out into the new containers. Some of us noticed the car in the middle of the old containers, but nobody had a chance to ask the director about it, until about halfway through the process when Mrs. Seekin returned and shouted these legendary words, which I shall never forget until the day I die. "What the heck? Where is my car?" I can only imagine the sheer terror she felt upon rounding the corner and finding the place where she had parked her car replaced with a giant steel box. To this, Mr. Connex simply, calmly responded, "Exactly where I told you not to park it." At this point, literally everyone had stopped working, and the few of us who had noticed the trapped car surmised what had happened and were basically dying of laughter. Mrs. Seekin ran over to the containers and looked through the gap and screamed when she saw there was literally no way for her to get the car out. "You should fix this right now. You should fix this right now," she demanded, storming towards Mr. Connex. He simply shrugged and told her that the containers were getting towed away on Wednesday next week. She could easily retrieve her car then. This only seemed to make her more mad, and at this point, me and some of the other larger dudes moved between her and the band director because she looked about ready to bite his head off. At this point, the director essentially delivered the ultimatum that if she had no further business on school grounds, she should leave, or he'd call the SRO, School Resource Officer, a police officer stationed at the school. Her response was something along the lines of, "Call him! Call him! Show him what you did to my car! That's a crime!" I don't know what crime she thought the band director committed, but long story short, the SRO arrived, laughed his butt off, then instructed her to leave school grounds and come back for her car on Wednesday. She screamed at him a bit about how she couldn't walk 4 miles home. Oh, poor you. And the SRO, after a few minutes, was done with her crap and told her if she didn't leave school grounds immediately, she'd be cited for trespassing, at which point she left. The cherry on top. Over the weekend, someone stole the wheels off the car. So even after the containers were moved, she couldn't get her car until one of those portable service companies came and put new wheels on it at some point Friday afternoon. Next we've got, teacher tries to use my disabilities against me. I got her fired. This takes place in the fall of the 2016 to 2017 school year. I was a senior at the time. The teacher in question was an English teacher that I will call Miss Dog, because her name could also be a type of animal. Miss Dog was particularly nice for the most part. She had a really high-pitched and nasally voice that she loved to hear at all times. The first day of school, I introduced myself to her and asked if she read over my 504 plan. For people who do not know, a 504 plan is an accommodation plan used in public education when a student has certain disabilities that need accommodations. In my plan, it stated that I am a high-functioning autistic. I needed clear and concise written instructions and a special chair because of my spinal issues. I had scoliosis as a kid and had a spinal fusion operation my freshman year, so I was known as the girl with the back brace in middle school and the girl with the metal back in high school. Essentially, everyone in my grade, which was also everyone in this particular class, since it was English 12, knew I needed a special chair. Back to the first day of school, I introduced myself to Miss Dog and asked if she read over my 504 plan.
Yes.
She brushes me off and does a, yeah,
It looks so good.
Okay, whatever. Teachers are busy and their jobs are really stressful.
Trying to spray
She
it.
probably has a million other things she had to get done. For the first week of class, I had to take some pain meds to get through English. Miss Dog would regularly get upset that I had brought a bottle of water with me to class every day and that I couldn't stay still in my seat. A classmate of mine, I'll call him Football Jock, spoke up and told the teacher that I do not have the special chair that I need. Miss Dog took that as an insult and was ready to chew out Football Jock when pretty much the entire class started to speak and agree with him. The weekend passes, and Monday I find my chair/desk hybrid thing replaced with a special chair and a separate desk. I had thought it was over. Oh boy, was I wrong. This was just the start. Fast forward to the middle of the semester. We had just finished reading Lord of the Flies. Great book, by the way. And we had an assignment to make a music soundtrack for a hypothetical movie of the book and explain what parts of the story would have what song playing. Now, I'm a big Vocaloid fan, so I went all out, but I made sure to use English covers of songs that weren't in English. After we get the grades for the projects, I see that I got a C on it, which was really odd for me since I was a straight A student. I asked Miss Dog about it, and she told me her reasoning for the C was that I didn't know what any of those songs are. I was going to give you an F, but your written part and CD case were both perfect, so I gave you a C.
What?
All while not looking away from her computer screen. I wasn't happy with that answer. I told her, in the middle of class, when you said everyone did a good job, you mentioned that everyone's projects had songs you'd never heard before. Did you give everyone else an F as well? She turned to me with a big scowl, before just turning right back to her computer, where I saw her change my grade to an A-. Not the plus I wanted, but enough to save me from getting told off at home for getting a bad grade. And then comes the icing on the cake. All semester, Miss Dog had me doing things to kind of single me out. She always assigned me with the dumb kids of the class.
Okay.
No matter how stupid it sounds, this dude literally drew a picture when the question sheet
Let's
said
see, what
draw
time
your
is it?
conclusions.
I don't think we have time for another one.
I would always call me
That's
and
probably
politely
enough.
take up with her. And she'd fix it by next week with a
I
sneer.
can do more later.
December, right before the holidays. Miss
I can do
Dog
more
assigned
later if I
this
want to.
scholarly
Of course
paper
it falls
about
into
a
the
real
pile of
social
hair.
issue with 3 sources. The topics of the essays were assigned to us randomly. We had no say, and we couldn't even change them. So my topic was something along the lines of healthcare. I was also taking a health occupation class at the school district's vocational tech center, and my grandmother is a licensed medical biller, meaning I know a thing or two about health insurance. I asked Miss Dog for help, saying that I can't find a third source for my stance. She tells me, 2 is fine then. I thank her for her help and get to work writing my essay. The due date is the day before the break, and we'll all turn our
Thanks,
papers in.
guys.
One happy Christmas and New Year's later, I get to English class.
Thank you, thank you.
In front of the class, as we all come in, which is really odd for her to
Finish
do.
off my water.
The bell rings and Miss Dog starts her rant. I had high hopes for these papers. I had hoped you all would follow the directions. She looked at me while making direct eye contact. I had hoped you all would know that I told you all 3 sources, not 2, 3. She went into a yelling tantrum about how someone didn't have 3 sources, making eye contact with me the entire time. I'm the kind of person to cry whenever someone is yelling in anger. It doesn't matter if it's directed at me or not. I'll cry. So after her rant, I took my stuff and left the classroom. I think I had gone to the band area to hide until the next class. While in my crying solitude, I finally said enough was enough.
Thanks,
I
Dickhead.
usually just
Thank you,
be
Vincent.
quiet about stuff
Thank
like
you,
this.
guys.
I was
Oh my
used to being
gosh.
teased for
Oh,
things
fuck.
since it happened a lot, and I thought this was no different. But it was. This jerk needed to pay. I got up and went to the office. I hated going to the office, even though I never got in trouble. The feeling of just being in there just made me feel guilty. I asked to see the principal,
Oh, man.
and they let me. The principal
Sleepy.
of my high school
Let's
was a
see,
very
how many
nice
do I
man,
left?
but later
1,
went on
2,
to getting me a position higher up in the school district after I had graduated.
11.
I sat down in the principal's
11
office,
more.
and he was ready to hear the usual bully spiel a crying student would
Okay.
say. I took a second to compose myself and said, Miss
If I
Dog
can
has
try to
been
get
using
a
my
few more done
disabilities as a way
tonight
to
after I
alienate me from the
go
class,
chill,
and as a way to treat me
take
as
a break
lesser
and get some
being in her
food.
class. She
I'm gonna try to
doesn't
come
treat me
back,
fairly, and she just screamed at me
finish
in
a
front
few
of the whole
more,
class to
and
point
then
out that
hopefully
I
we
wasn't
can
like
just
the
like
rest of the
go
students
really
in her
hard
class.
tomorrow,
I can
finish
never forget
them,
what I said, or the principal's face either.
and
He sighed, and
then
he
I
muttered
can move
something
on
along
to
the
everything
lines of,
else.
God,
Because my
not
bed
again,
should be
dog.
here
Turns
tomorrow,
out I was not
and the
only
headboard's
disabled
already
student
here.
that Miss Dog
So
did not
I need to
disturb.
work on getting some
Every
shit
student
out of
with
here.
any sort of mental or physical condition within one of her classes
So-
was given this treatment by her.
Yeah.
I decided to keep it going. It was already
Ugh,
over
yeah,
for
I'm gonna
her,
go power
so why
nap
not
or
make it as good as I
something.
could?
I don't know.
Miss Dog has also repeatedly
I don't know.
mistreated me during class by doing this
Probably
and
just
that.
lay down for a bit, yeah, because I'm pretty tired. Maybe I'll go wander around for a bit, but
I said how she had constantly threatened to fail me.
sleepy,
How she'd give me bad grades
sleepy,
wrongful.
bruh.
How she did so many more things that may or may not have happened because of my condition. I also made sure to mention how
Yeah,
most
I'm
times
definitely
her
gonna
class
have
was
to
physically painful for me
vacuum
on most days because she would
this
take my
whole
special
area.
chair and use it as a footrest and make me sit on an uncomfortable
It's
stool.
not good.
Which was true.
It's
She
not
did take my
good.
chair quite often and then scolded me for bringing a water bottle
but
into the
we
classroom when I
did
had to take some
one,
meds for pain. I was Michelangelo, and all these accusations against Miss Dog was the ceiling of the Sistine
Did we
Chapel.
only do 3
My
today?
masterpiece. I don't snitch, but when I do, I squeal like a pig. Every single wrongdoing that Miss Dog
Here,
had
let's
done
make
to
it
me,
4.
and
I'm gonna
others in
feel
my
better
class
if I
as
have
well,
4 done.
were told to the principal that day. For the rest of the semester,
I'm
I
gonna
had to
spray
spend
this
time
Raven
writing
wig real
English in
quick,
the main office.
because
I
this
was
one's
exempt from
already
the
fully
exams for the
brushed
class,
out and ready to
automatically
go.
passed due to my
It
flawless
just
straight
needs
A's and 3.7
to get
GPA.
sprayed.
I had
So I'm
learned
gonna
that the
spray
day of
this.
exams, the principal had gone to Miss Dog's classroom when first period started. He
And
told her that
then
she
I'll feel
wasn't allowed to administer the exam,
like I've
and that
accomplished
he would
shit.
instead, because she was fired and needed to get her personal belongings and leave the school property immediately. I don't know how true the part where she was fired in front of students was, since I was told that part by other students from the rumor mill. But I know for sure that she was indeed fired. But that wasn't it. I was in marching band in high school, and my school's band was about 300 kids in my senior year. My grandma also did their student accounts. I told my grandma to send a newsletter out to all the marching band parents about how they need to be aware that some teachers are not there for the best interests of their students, and we made sure to put Miss Dog's name in it, along with her crimes against little old me. 300 students, which meant around 600 or more parents. Parents that work at other school districts in some cases. Miss Dog is no longer allowed to work at any school or educational facility. She is also not allowed to work at places that work with disabled people. Last thing I heard of her, she was working 3 part-time jobs in fast food.
I feel better now.
Not 2, 3. Entitled mom and entitled dad tried to take my dog while at the pet store. This happened a year ago, and now that it is all behind me, I can finally share. The people. We've got entitled mom and entitled dad. We've got entitled kid 1, a girl that makes Perugia Salt look like a saint. Entitled kid 2, a boy that really thinks everything that he wants automatically becomes his.
Alright.
We've got me.
Oh, okay. Well,
dog that loves me.
This was good.
We've got my
we
mom.
got stuff done.
Ace, awesome story
slowly
employee.
but surely.
We've got store
Getting
manager,
closer to finishing.
manager, and other manager.
I'm gonna be
it was
so
a
happy
Wednesday,
when this is done,
and like
yo.
all of the second
This is gonna
Wednesdays
be
of each
so
month,
good.
My mom has chemo in a city about 1.5 hours away. I always go with her, as she sometimes gets sick
I'm very
after
excited
work,
to
and
use
I
my
have to
wigs.
drive home. The only problem
Like,
is
they're
that I
gonna be
have a
really
dog that
good,
can't be
so-
left home for the amount of time we are gone. I found that
alright,
the
well.
largest retail pet store in the city also
I'm
has
gonna
sporting
go.
pets in it.
I will be
I
streaming
signed up
tomorrow.
and we
I'm
drop
gonna
her
try to
off
start
while we were
earlier
at the hospital
tomorrow.
all day. She loves going there,
Okay,
and
so we
she
might do
really
another
loves
no
playing
makeup
with other
stream.
dogs all day.
I might just be in my
At night, when we pick her
pajamas.
up, she's
We're gonna be
usually
lazy with
tired
it,
and sleeps
so
all the way home.
yeah, I'm gonna try to
We
get
have
something
regulars,
posted on
and most of the
Pornhub
staff
tonight,
knows us
just
as the
explaining
part of
that
the
I
store.
won't be having a
On
video this
particular
week, and
day,
it'll be up
we were
next
dropping off
week.
Happy Dog at night
And
picking up at 4. We go and do our usual.
yeah.
Doctors, chemo, lunch,
Yeah.
and any shopping we want to do. We head back to the store around 3:30 to pick
Yeah.
up Happy Dog. We walk around so we
Okay.
can watch Happy Dog play
Yes.
without her seeing us.
Mm.
The play areas
Couldn't
for the
think
dogs
anything
are
else.
in an area where customers can look in. I have my first encounter
Not
with
that I can
Entitled
think
Kid
of.
1 and Entitled
Oh
Kid
man,
2.
this month has been a hot
Entitled
mess,
Kid 1.
but we're getting through
There are so
it.
many dogs, but I really like
We'll get there.
the white little one right there.
It'll be good.
As she points to my dog.
To be
Entitled Kid
very
2.
good.
We should ask Mom and Dad for a dog. Entitled
Okay.
Kid 2.
I'm
The
gonna
dog you
I'm gonna
like
stop
really likes to play.
stop this video because we're gonna end it now. And yeah. Thanks for being so patient, guys. Thank you for keeping me company while this all happens and stuff. And yeah, thanks for not being too disappointed with me having to delay shit. But yeah. Ugh. Alright, I'll see you guys tomorrow for hopefully our last wig stream. And then this weekend, I'm gonna work on trying to get all of the extra shit out of this place so I have room to go through more shit and hopefully get the new bed and stuff in here. So, okay. Alright, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you to everybody. Hold on. Thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you to everybody who subscribed. Thank you to everybody who became a member. Thank you to everybody who liked the video and kept me company the whole time. Yay. All right. Thank you, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Mwah. Goodbye, 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 good joy. The end music.